Been a while. Let me just get a bit set up here. I'm going to pull up chat and whatnot on the side. So if you are there, give me a second. And if you aren't, I mean, then only concerns me. Hope everyone's doing well, if you are there. And getting some... You know what's really annoying is that when you start a stream through OBS, it doesn't automatically monetize the stream. So you have to go through YouTube, click on monetization, pull up all of the... pull up chat and whatnot, so it takes a little bit of setting up. But hopefully should be good soon. About that. Hey, okay, there's some people in chat. Nice to see you guys. Can you hear me fine? Hello, hello. Hi, McKellen. Been a while. Oh, hold on. I think we're just on time. Because the stream just started. Let me know if sound is too loud, too quiet, whatnot. I'll see what I can do. This is OP14. My title correct? Yeah, okay. OP14. It's OP14 with EB03, which is slightly different from what you guys are going to have, but it is still going to be relatively similar, I think, because EB03 didn't change all too much. Okay. You guys... Okay, everything should be okay, but let me know if something's weird. Okay, it's been a while, but I'm back, guys. Nightwings. I've seen, yeah, Ichiban. I've seen a couple of your names before. I'm glad to see you guys are still around, even though it's been a little while since I've streamed. Okay. We have no idea when global release is going to be officially. I was hoping that it'd be by Worlds next year, but I'm not sure if that's going to be possible with the current schedule. Yeah, Sabo on OP14, I think he's pretty good. I haven't really tested him that much into the new leaders that much, to be honest. But in general, with the EB03 support, he's pretty solid. So I think as soon as he gets that SR qual from EB03, he's going to be a pretty good deck in general. But I just don't know if it's going to be enough in the face of all of the new OP14 leaders that exist now, because there's been quite a few pretty good leaders. Yeah, so predictions. I don't know how quickly they're going to show us the percentages, but just before they show it to us, so we can see how right or wrong I am, I think that, you know, on Twitter, everyone's saying Green Mihawk, amazing deck, strongest deck in the meta. I don't know how to beat this deck. It beats Ema, it beats Ace, it beats everything. You just need to draw your curve. I think this deck is really... it's good. I think it's fake, kind of. I think it's like Roger in OP13, where if you can draw your curve... Maybe, let's get the thing on me for a second here. You can't hear that? Okay. If you can draw your curve, as in if you go like 5-cost Tashigi, also you need like a Searcher in the early game. So like Searcher or Sage in the early game to have something to rest with your leader effect. You draw 5-cost Tashigi, you draw 7-cost Shanks, maybe 2 of them, or the 9-cost Mihawk into the 10-cost Blah and Beppo, then insane deck, really, really good. But if you don't do that, then you're kind of like Raj and you're sitting there like, what just happened? So while the deck is good, I don't think that it's going to be that good when it comes to these larger scale tournaments. So oops. Let's see what's going to happen. My predictions are it's going to be the highest play rate deck. I think it's going to be like, my guess, maybe I should pull up a notepad so I'm just not talking into the air. My prediction is like 20% Mihawk, like 18% Ace, like 10%, what's it called? Hancock, 10% Ema, and like, I don't know, like 8% Bonnie as the top represented decks. This is a bit small. I don't know if I can fix that. Zoom. Oh, okay, Control Plus. This is my prediction, and on Twitter, let me just pull that up for a second. This is my prediction for top 16. So maybe I'm underrating Mihawk. I think that Mihawk's going to have high representation but not be able to make top cut because it's very hard to consistently win 9 rounds in a row with that deck. I think that Ima's still very good, in my opinion, despite its lower play rate. I think you just need to learn the new matchups, Hancock and Mihawk, and if you can learn those, then you're fine. Bonnie's kind of the, if I dodge Ima, I'm going to win decks. I think it's going to be a decent amount of Bonnie. Other than that, I think some random Cope decks that are good. Crocodile, Jinbe. Red Green Luffy exists, but he's not as good. I think Purple Doflamingo is pretty solid. Maybe Purple Doflamingo's in here like 5%. Oh, they might have shown it to us. Oh, no, not yet. Should I use the hashtag, try to get on stream? Maybe if I have something worth saying. But yeah, this is my prediction for the meta today, and then how I think it's actually going to convert. And I don't want to say Imu ends up winning, but I think Imu is probably the strongest deck. We'll see what ends up happening. Okay. You guys have any spice picks, whether it's OP13 that you've been playing or some ideas you have for OP14? Red Green Luffy's been getting stronger, hasn't seen that much play. I don't know exactly what it loses to. Ima's still a hard matchup, but Ima's play rate has come down, so I doubt that it's just Ima. Oh, top 32 and top 8. Interesting. No Zoro. Yeah, so Zoro gets completely bodied by Mihawk. There's probably going to be like a couple of Zoro that make it close to the top. I don't know if some of them are actually going to make the top because my prediction is that green Mihawk is going to be the most represented deck. But Mihawk completely destroys Zoro, basically. So Zoro's play rate has kind of fallen off a cliff. Oh, hold on. Let's compare this to mine. Okay, Mihawk's number 1, Ace a little bit lower. Then we have Hancock at 11%. I'm really close, am I not? Yeah. So Mihawk, Ace, Hancock, Imu, Bonnie, Blue Yellow Nami, Red Black Sabo. Shout out to the guy in chat who was talking about that. Purple Doflamingo. So there's that. Jinbe. And wow, there's a lot of things up here. Blue Purple Luffy, Roger, down here starts to kind of be whatever. There's Black Crocodile, Black Yellow Moria. Pretty nice. Yeah. I think I was talking about like this being my prediction, and people are like, nah, no way Imu goes down to 10%, 15% at most, and like definitely Ace is more played than Mihawk, but no, I think that there's like, everyone wants to play the new deck. Mihawk is okay. Let me, for the people who are just popping in, let me put this. But yeah. Mihawk's okay, it's just a kind of high rolly deck, so I think it's going to convert pretty poorly, but we have no idea. I haven't seen that much on Twitter, but I've seen like some people personally posting on Twitter that they made top cuts. So I know that there's at least one blue-purple Sanji, and other red... Which red are we talking about? I don't see any mono red. There's a red black supple here, which is something. Oh, this is red law. This is like a less than 1% type of deck, so not very popular. I guess the highest played Cope decks, if you don't look at like the top 15 decks, is Red Law, Blue Purple Sanji, Red Green Smoker, Yellow Bonnie, Blue Nami, and Red Black Kobe. I actually think Blue Nami is better than people think it is. It's because the meta is quite slow. 2% Red Blue VV, yes. Mihawk, it's just his cards are really good. So like the 7-cost Shanks, if it becomes rested. Oh, hold on. This is top 16. So we have 4 Ace, we have 3 Imu, 2 Mihawk. There we go. That's my terrible inversion that I was talking about. 2 Purple Doflamingo, 1 Jinbe, 1 Blue Purple Sanji, 1 Blue Purple Luffy, 1 Blue Yellow Hancock, and 1 Blue Yellow Nami. How close was I? I said 4 Emu and 3 Ace. They had 4 Ace, 3 Emu. I said 2 Mihawk, that's right. 2 Doflamingo. I said 1 Blue Purple Luffy. I said 2 Hancock, but there's 1. I said 1 Nami. I mean, I'm pretty close. There's like the one surprise deck in here is Blue Purple Sanji. Jinbe's pretty solid, but I'm kind of surprised that it made top deck or top cut because the Ace matchup's kind of difficult. Okay, I'm glad. I still have a decent ability to read the meta, even though it's been a little while. Yeah, it's a lot of blue. I guess it kind of looks like more blue because purple and blue are kind of similar colors. Maybe that's my color blindness. I don't know. But there's the less than 1% Sanji. I think this was like around 15% for Ace. I don't remember exactly. 10% Emu, 19% Mihawk, turning into 2 out of 16 is pretty bad. Doflamingo was around like 5% or 3%, I think. No, yeah, 3%. Jinbe was 3%. Blue Purple Luffy, I think these were like all kind of around 3% or lower. Yep. Yeah, both of these blue purples. Yep, there's a Blue Purple Luffy, Blue Purple Sanji. Yeah, Mihawk's conversion's really bad. I'm glad I'm not crazy. I think that deck is, it's okay. Like, the deck, if you can draw really well for a whole day, it's the best deck. It's literally Roger, basically. It's Roger, but a little bit more flexibility because you have some more time to play like stage or like you have events that you can hold on to. You could use your Dong in different ways after you use your leader effect. So it's a little bit more flexible than Roger. You're not as doomed if you miss your curve as Mihawk, but it's still the same thing where it's like you draw your curve and you win, or you don't and you lose. So yeah. Yeah. I think to answer, I'm not sure if it's really a question. Diego? Crocodile, why isn't he here? I think Crocodile's insanely good. I think he beats everything on here. I don't know about some of these like lowered played decks, but he beats everything here except for Ace. No matter how hard I tried, I could not beat Ace. Like, Ace is just a doomed matchup, and every single other matchup is really good for Crocodile. But because Ace's play rate's so high, I don't think you're going to see that much Crocodile. So if that matchup gets figured out, I think Crocodile's very good. If not, then yeah, it happens. Vivi's also not bad. But you know what's crazy is that Vivi has Slash in the top right corner, which means that Mihawk becomes a 6k leader. I think if she was just what is it, like Wisdom, I think, in the top right corner, then I think she'd be much better right now. Number 4 purple one is Purple Doflamingo. Purple Doflamingo's had a bit of an uptick recently. It has a similar sort of place as Crocodile, where the Ace matchup is difficult, but the other ones are a bit more easy. But the Ace matchup is a bit more playable compared to Crocodile. Yeah, I think the meta's a lot more diverse in OP14, but it kind of depends on what meta you like to play. Like, if you like to play jungle meta, then OP14 is much better, at least currently. You know, it's only been like a week or something. But if you're trying to win a tournament, it's very difficult to prepare. So there's 2 championships, by the way. There's one today and there's one tomorrow. I'm not going to be streaming the one tomorrow because I'm going to be in the one tomorrow. Maybe I'll stream it. If I lose too fast, I'll come home and stream it. But I'm hoping that I can stay for a while and you know, get a deep run, try to make it to the championship finals. But there's 2 championships today. I'm going to be at the one tomorrow, so it's something to look forward to. And just for me, it's just been very difficult to practice because I had to consider Blue Yellow Nami, which we see on stream right now. I have to consider Doflamingo. I have to consider Mihawk, Hancock. All of these decks I have put in some testing, but I don't necessarily think that it's going to be enough. I'm not going to be as confident as I was in OP13, but there's still, like, it's fun, at least, you know, there's lots of cool decks. We have the Blue-Yellow versus Blue-Yellow, Blue-Yellow Nami versus Blue-Yellow Hancock. Let me pull up my pen. Wait. Yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. It's been a little while, but I'm glad. I don't know how many people are in here. YouTube says 250. It's pretty good. Sorry, I saw something about Ace before as well that I missed. Sorry, I am missing a lot of messages. Oh, sorry. Let me... Blurwolf, Mihawk better into Emu than Green Zoro. It kind of decimates Green Zoro. Imu's also an okay matchup. I think that it kind of comes down to the Imu player's knowledge. What do you think? If I'm yeah, Ace is still solid. I think that Ace hasn't gained any very clear bad matchups, but like Mihawk's annoying to deal with because he hits you for 8k every turn. Doflamingo's fine. Hancock's annoying because she forces you to peel your life. Oh yeah, let's talk about some of these leaders because maybe people haven't seen them before since they're new. So Hancock is 5,000 power. We just missed it. 5,000 power, blue, yellow. And if you have a Dong on your leader, when one of your 5,000 power or higher Kuja or I don't remember what the other trait is called, card is removed from the battlefield, then the opponent, KO'd, sorry, KO'd, then the opponent has to take one of their life to their hand. And she has a second effect, which I'm completely blanking on. How did I blank on that? I've played against this leader too many times. Oh, yeah. And then on the opponent's turn, if you play a character out, then you draw a card. So basically, if you trigger out a character, you also get one extra draw. So, very oppressive leader, because it's hard to hit into her, because she triggers out a lot of characters. Ooh, new Rayleigh's interesting. I haven't seen too many people running that. But we'll talk about these cards as we go. Lilith is also interesting. It's quite an interesting list. Not really the standard, it seems. But also it's annoying because you can't take out her board, because if you take out her board, assuming that it's like Kuja, so like these Hancocks, but not the Nami, but Nami also has problems of her own. Then the opponent is forced to take one of their life, and then if you just play something like the 9-cost Hancock, which is basically 10 Mom, and make the opponent take their life and you gain a life, and then you play like putting into Perfume Femur, then the opponent has to take like a massive 16,000 liter swing. And that's pretty much game for a lot of decks. So, I mean, most decks if they're at 0 life. So, Hancock is my new green Zoro in that I just hate playing against it, regardless of how strong it is. I don't necessarily think Hancock's like an insane deck, but very, very annoying. Oh, yeah, new card for from EB03, which unfortunately you guys won't have for quite a while, but this is a blue-yellow Nami exclusive event card that searches a 2-cost to 8-cost within your deck. The trigger activates the main effect. They're just very solid for the consistency of this deck. Allows her to basically pick up anything she wants. Blue Nami is going to be going first. And picks up the 7-cost Robin, which on play, wow, 3 Robins in hand. So really going for this plan instead of picking up the 8-cost kid that he had. You trash your top life and then you gain 2. So effectively, you're just healing 1 life, but because of your leader effect, you also get 1 draw, which is quite nice. Then on KO, the opponent has to take 1 damage, which basically is just preventing the opponent from starving you and taking out your board slowly, because eventually they're going to lose. Because if you do take damage when you're at 0, you do in fact lose the game. So, quite interesting. Yeah. There are some interesting cards on both sides. I believe this is, I don't know what... Ugh. Fuck, I just looked at the board. No. This is like the strongest trigger card in the game. Gorgon Sanshimai, man. Oh my god. Activate main, it attaches a Residong to all of your Kuja and Amazon Lily type characters and leaders. So this card, once Hancock starts playing out her 4-cost Hancocks, 6-cost Hancocks if she runs it. Oh, she does, it seems. On the far right, I believe. Yeah, she does. Oh no, that's 9-cost. 9-cost Hancock. But still, just being able to attach Freedong onto the characters that can come out, whether it's the 4-cost Hancock, there's also, I believe this was called Rang, there's another Gorogong in her hand. It just puts a Freedong onto all of these leaders. It just increases the value and pressure that the deck can put onto so much. This is one of the scary things about Hancock. Yeah, Hancock going to play down... Is he looking at 3 cards? What did he just play down? Oh, okay, yeah, that's what he played down. Going to be reordering. And after he reorders the top 3, he will be able to attach 2 of them onto his leader through the 4-cost Hancock and the Gorgon Sanshimai, and hit for 7k into Nami, which is going to be over her leader effect threshold. So whether or not she wanted to use her leader effect, she probably will choose not to because the threshold's quite high now. So it's pretty devastating to let that Gorgon Sanshimai come out of trigger on the first life. Oh, it attaches to anything? Oh, interesting. Bad. I think the person that I'm testing with doesn't understand the effect then. Yeah. The nice thing, though, maybe nice thing, is that you do have to show your opponent 3 cards. Now the opponent will know that you have 2 bricks in your hand, technically, and will know for sure that that 9-cost Hankook is going to be coming out, most likely on curve. Yeah. Decides to just, because he has the blocker up, rest the Sanshimai and just swing twice into leader. Nami chooses not to use leader effect and takes that first hit, going down to 3 life. Hmm. Yeah. I think Teach loses really hard to Mihawk, unfortunately. If Mihawk didn't exist, I think that Teach could have a very good shot of coming back in this meta. Gorgon Sanshimai actually... Sorry, I don't... Is it just called Gorgon Sisters in English? I'm not accustomed to the English words. Let me... Oh, okay. You have to show Amazon Lily or Kuja, and then you attach Restodonk to everything. Okay, that's where I was going wrong. But yeah, plays down the EB03 Nami. It's kind of unfortunate we're seeing so many cards that are in EB03, but Blue Nami becomes a pretty solid deck with EB03. Plays down the Nami, and because Hancock is at 3 or more life, he is going to be forced to pick up one of his life and attach one dong to his leader. Works perfectly with Blue Nami, as is probably the reason behind that card's design. And puts Hancock down to 2 life. Now, if he has a second one, he won't be able to use it now because he's now below that threshold, but it seems like he's setting up to just play out as many Hancocks as he possibly can from his hand. Yeah. Some Hancocks play out... Oh, answers with a Nami of his own. I like the normal art more than the alt art. Yeah, some decks... Or some Hancocks run Kuma, some run the 6-cost Hancock, some just run this instead. It's too early to decide if there's like a correct build or not. Yeah, he's probably just going to show the same cards. It's good to just show cards that you're going to have in your hand for quite a while, so you don't show more information than you need to. He's just going to be attaching Dong to everything that he can. I wonder if he's also... I mean, not that he necessarily needs to attach a Dong to Lilith, but I wonder if he's making the same misconception that I am. And thinks that it only goes to Amazon Lily. Highly doubt it, but we'll see. Still, lots of really good aggression coming out of Hancock from this early game from that first trigger, Gorogong. Pretty devastating, honestly. But that is the risk of fighting Hancock. We're going to swing 7 at leader. This is going to be 7-7-7, which means that it's still out of Blue Nami's leader effect range, which is brutal. If this Gorogong wasn't here, it would just be a 6-6 on this turn, and that really wouldn't be that much. But is going to be forced to deal with this. And I guess 6-7. Uses leader effect, goes to 7k, still needs to cut 1k. Cuts that Usopp. Still needs to deal with 2 more attacks with 1 card out of hand. Defends a second one, a third one. Ooh, what's this card? I don't know what this card is. It decides not to rest the Hancock. It's electing that the blocker is more important than the actual... or having the blocker on board to defend the Gorgon Sisters is more important than having the extra attack in his mind. See if I can increase the quality, because it's a bit blurry. That's a little bit better. 6-7. Man, I feel old recently. I don't really understand, but I assume that it's kind of similar to the 21 meme, because 20 number good. Yeah, so we're probably going to see all the attacks go into here, into the Robin, just to increase life, stay as healthy as possible until eventually his board is filled up with as many Robins as possible. So the opponent can't necessarily take back the opponent's board, is going to be forced to go for leader. But thanks to Nami just healing so much life, that will be a little bit difficult as this game goes on. He's running the learn together type of list. I mean, we'll see. It is a very weird list, but he did make it to top cut 8-1. So there must be something here. He's the only Blue Yellow Nami, so maybe everyone else is playing the Learn Together type of Blue Yellow Nami. Yeah. I think maybe he took inspiration from the English Learn Together set. Goes for leader, I believe, for the second hit. Oh, takes the block, forces him to take 1 life. And now Nami is down to 1 life now because of that Hancock leader effect. So, interestingly also used one of the dongs and planning not to play down that Hancock, it seems. Also, nice thing, by the way, about Hancock's leader effect is that it's not the opponent can take 1, the opponent is forced to take 1. Oh, puts out the Usopp! We're seeing it! And then puts out the... I forget what this one's called. But it's, what's his name? Beige's wife, I believe. So, nice that they're both on the board somehow. This is a crazy list. But, yeah. With the Usopp, if you have... Wait. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Play out a 6,000 power or less character with no... Basically, play out a vanilla. And although this is a 2,000 counter, it has no text on it, so it counts as a vanilla. So it is just going to be able to spread out board quite efficiently. Very interesting. Oh, yeah, I think Chiffon. Yeah, I think Rora is her sister in Thriller Bark or something. The boar. Yeah. Best OP14 leader. Technically Mihawk, if you look at play rate. In terms of conversion, I believe today it was Doflamingo. Yeah, it's searchable, which is quite nice off of this page because it's Fire Tank, I believe. I would imagine, at least, because he was able to search it just now. Yeah, no, he does not really know what's going on. I think that, I mean, even my Blue Yellow Nami testing, it didn't look like this. So, very interesting. He also has the... What is the yellow resting in plus 1k event called in English again? I forget. Blaze Slice or something like that? Yeah, Chiffon's Fire Tank, yeah. Interesting. So you can, with this Beige, pick up both sides of this combo. That's kind of fun. I guess as Bandai intended. But I'm surprised I've never seen this Usopp actually be used on this stage. Blaze Slice, okay. Interesting. Hancock deciding now what he wants to do with his Dong. Plays down that Hancock. Very annoying for the opponent, because it not only defends your board, lets that Gorgon just keep hitting, keep getting value out of the activate main effect, which he's already gotten about, at this point, maybe in terms of actual attacks, 4 Dong worth of value out of, off of just a free trigger, basically. He's going to get that Hancock down too, which is going to help defend that Gorgon sister, while also forcing the opponent to take 1 of their life when he blocks with that. With that Dong attached to his leader now, also just going to put much more pressure on the opponent. Makes it very difficult for the opponent to try to take back your board, and it seems like Blue Yonami, with that Usopp play last turn, is actually posturing to try to take the opponent's life rather than their board. Ooh, interesting. Hancock runs Nyomba. Nyomba is basically the 2-cost Hiyori, except it's searchable and it doesn't have 2k. And also, I guess, Trigger plays it out, but it's a bit of a weird card. I don't love it that much, but I mean, it's an okay card. Now, thinking where to hit from first. Swinging 7s just repeatedly over and over again to make it awkward for Nami to use her leader effect. Is going to elect to use it anyways. Cuts that 7-cost Robin, which has been public information from the beginning of the game. And plays the Blaze Slice to rest the opponent's Hancock. Ooh, very nice. So now the opponent... Alright, Hancock can no longer force the opponent to take 1 life if Nami just decides to ignore the board and go for leader. Using the counter event. And now also is going to be able to be a 8,000 power leader for this turn, because that Blaze Slice, as well as her leader effect, lasts for the entire turn. Yamapi, the Hancock, not really knowing what's hitting him right now, is going to attach 1 more Dong to his leader and swinging for 8k, as now the power has been risen. Bilk gets a 2k value, a little bit of value there, as Nami's hand is starting to get lower and lower. But hopefully, with that leader effect from Nami, he will be able to, or not leader effect, the 7-cost Robin in tandem with the leader effect, he will be able to increase his life while also increasing his hand size the next turn. I believe this is probably the angle that Nami is looking for now. Try to make it so that Hancock can't win the game next turn and set up for lethal with that Robin as well as the Usopp and Shifeng that he played the turn before. Yeah, Nami is 8k right now with leader effect and Blaze Slice. This is top 16. Ooh, plays down Nyomba. Is going to be able to cycle one thing. Not cycle, I guess. Put one thing into life. Debating what he wants to put down. Thinking about it. Hopefully we can see what we actually get. I couldn't really see. Did anyone see what he put down there? I guess it's going to be a surprise for all of us. But, so there's some interesting things. I mean, I don't know exactly what would be the most devastating trigger here. Because there aren't necessarily blockers that can come out suddenly. Oh, there's another 6-cost Gorian Sisters. Interesting. So he's just really setting up to just go for game the next turn. Very interesting. Needs to make sure that he doesn't die on this turn. I'm sure that he has mathed it out at this point. But he does have a couple of bricks in his hand in that 9-cost Hancock because the way that he's playing, it doesn't seem like this game's going to go on for too much longer. Yeah, so Hancock cuts 1k from the 6k attack, so Maeshima, the Blue Yellow Nami, is going to just hit for 6k once again. Just whittle away at Hancock's resources, takes it, plays out the second Gorgon Sisters. It's going to make quite a formidable amount of power in the next turn. Because the opponent took their life, Nami is also going to be able to draw one card. So now, I believe, at 5 cards in hand, if I'm not mistaken. 9 dong at their disposal. He's just going to keep hitting at 6k, just knows the opponent doesn't have 2ks in their hand, most likely, and just going to keep chipping away at the opponent, seeing how much he can really take away from Hancock. Oh, okay, he has the Shakuyaku. What's up with the judge? Yeah. Yeah, it's rare to see blue yellow in general, but we have 2. But yeah, Hancock's pretty solid leader. Hey man, just started playing and love your videos. Do you think either of the following decks is a place in OP14? Blue, purple Luffy, BUI Koala, yellow Enel. Blue, purple Luffy is pretty solid, I think. Purple Luffy's fallen off because Ace is difficult. And BUI Koala, I have no idea about. But yellow Enel kind of gets bodied by a lot of the other late game decks that exist now. Blue, purple Luffy is pretty solid right now. Thinking about what he wants to do with the rest of his dong. He still has enough dong at his disposal to increase his life by 1 with that 7-cost Hancock. Does he have any other option in his hand? It's kind of hard to see with his wrist in the way. Oh. There's a Bitchy, there's Hancock. There should be 2 Hancocks in his hand still, because I think he started with 2 of them. He cut 1 for his leader effect. Thinking about what he wants to do. He's going to rest 7 dong. Looks like he's just going to go for it. Plays down the Hancock. He's going to trash 1 life to gain 2 life. Importantly, has already activated leader effect, so won't be able to get that extra draw. And now ends turn. It's up to Hancock to end the game, because I don't think that she's going to survive for another turn. Could try your best to hold on if you find a decent amount of counter and just play down the 9-cost Hancock, but you have very few cards in your hand. It doesn't seem that feasible, but I haven't done the math to actually survive this turn. So I believe that he may be poisoned to just try to end the game on this turn. Interesting though, because he does have 2 Gorgon Sisters, he can play down the 9-cost Hancock, activate the both Gorgon Sisters leader effects. Oh, but he needs to show 3 cards, doesn't he? Does he have 4 cards in his hand? He might not have enough cards in his hand to actually activate the Gorgon effect if he plays out a character first. Man, I wish I could see their hands better. Because Gorgon Sisters effect, you need to show the opponent 3 cards. So if he was at 3 cards right now and he plays out a character first, he won't have enough cards to actually meet the condition to use the effect. I mean, I think everyone just likes to play new decks when they come out. It's only been a week since release, so this is still a bit of a jungle meta. It'll take some time for it to stabilize. I'm sure when global release happens, we're going to see a lot of cope decks from all regions, so that'll be a lot of fun. The one issue is that you guys get the meta currently solved, so... I mean, solved is the wrong word. Sometimes you guys push it further, but yeah, decides that he can't go for that plan. I assume... I just can't see how many cards he has in his hand, so I can't say what's correct, but just attaches Sudong to Gorogong. Swings for 7k to try to be out of that leader effect range. Nami, though, is going to use the leader effect anyways, go to a 7k leader, so now Hancock is forced to attach Sudong onto that Gorogong to hit at equal power. 7k into the opponent's 7k, needs to get through 2 more life on this turn, but thankfully Nami doesn't have any blockers, with, I believe, only 2 cards in hand. It's not impossible. He has exactly 3? Okay, that's kind of... Oh, sorry, black-purple, yeah, sorry. When I'm talking about purple-black, I do a PB, because there's some confusion there. Okay, I think the commentators just realized that he doesn't have the cards in hand to be able to use the Gorgon Sisters effect. Purple-black Luffy is a bit, he's cool. I think he has potential. I never really got around to actually testing him, but he's an interesting leader, just very aggressive. I think that he's not bad in general, but as more removal comes into the game, it becomes difficult to play. But right now, there isn't too much removal, so it's something to consider. I haven't really thought about it that much. Going for the 8k into leader, hoping that the stack goes through. He needs this attack to go through because he just needs to try to finish the game with 8k. But we do see that Nami does have enough counter. He knows that regardless of how he counters out, he will have enough counters. So force the opponent to attach all of his Dong. Counters with 2k, and he's going to have enough. The turn is passed back to Nami. Nami is going to take back this game. I don't think that there's any trigger. Zero cost event into zero cost event into zero cost event. Maybe one time. I don't think Hancock runs that card, unfortunately. But yeah, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depending on which side you're on, the new leader loses. The original good blue-yellow leader is going to take this top 16 game. 17,000 leader is going to go through, and that's going to be game for Maeshima on blue-yellow Nami. Woo! Blue-yellow Nami, it depends. Blue-yellow Nami, if she can dodge Ima, is a very solid deck, but Ima is still a very difficult matchup, unfortunately. But the deck has become much, much better. It has a pretty solid matchup into Ace as well. And I think that there was only one Nami and only one Hancock, so that means that Hancock is no longer the top 16, unfortunately. But yeah, fun decks anyways. Red-Black Sable is solid. There was actually 4% Sable in this tournament. None of them, unfortunately, ended up making the top cut. But the Ace matchup is good. The Ima matchup is okay, especially if you go second. It's pretty winnable. I don't know about the new leaders, though, unfortunately. I just haven't had that much time to test. Oh, camera died. Sorry about that. 1 second. But yeah, the 4-cost Usopp actually put in a lot of work there. Was able to make enough attacks that Hancock was forced to actually accelerate the pace of the game and not actually have enough time to start playing down the 9-cost Hancock. So, very interesting adaptation to not go for that 7-cost Hancock, despite, or 7-cost Robin, despite having 3 in hand on that 7 Dong turn. Choosing to speed up the pace of the game with that 4-cost is up. And, sorry, my camera is almost... And this makes my arm look really weird. But, okay. We're back. I need to get a dummy battery. I just found out that those exist. What do you guys think about this leader? Yellow Luffy, 5,000 power, 6 life. On attack, if you have 2 or less life, then you draw 1, trash 1. Very simple effect, but has 6 life. Thoughts? Okay, you guys are just asking me. My thoughts is that it seems like yellow NL, but with better traits. Because yellow NL, if you think about it, once you lose 4 life and you go down to 0, then you can cycle 1 hand, although you get the trash before you get the draw. Oh no, you get the draw thing from your life, and then you trash. And it's, in a way, a hand cycle. So it's kind of like yellow NL, but it has the benefit of being able to run 9-cost Bonnie and 7-cost Robin, so I think it's solid. That's quite nice. But I think because NL struggles a lot in this meta, it's kind of difficult for that deck in general to do too well. But we'll see. We haven't seen all of the cards at the very least, but this Zora is really nice. 6 cost 8,000, has Rush into characters, new keyword, very nice. Activate main once per turn. Trash a card with trigger from your hand, draw 1 card, and then give your leader or character one rested dong. So just generally solid card. Can't go into face, unfortunately. But yeah. Yeah, it is definitely the Let's Go Gambling leader. I was actually thinking about this leader. I think that a cool way that you could play this, although I don't know if it's correct, would be to play the yellow Thriller Bark package, because that package has so many triggers, and you just trigger out a bunch of Thriller Bark pirates, and heal with things like 7-cost Robin, finish out the game with things like 9-cost Bonnie. I think there's some cool things that the leader can do, just specifically with the typing that it has. But because yellow NL right now it feels like it does pretty poorly, I'm not convinced that the leader is going to make that. Oops, sorry if I knocked the camera, or sorry if I just knocked the mic. I'm not sure if it's going to make a big splash in the meta, but we'll see. Yeah, that's true. The cards may inadvertently become Nami buffs because Nami can also search those Straw Hats. We'll see, though. I don't know. I think a lot of the cards do specifically work with, like, Egghead. Oh yeah, the nice thing is because it also has Egghead, you can use things like the 6-cost S-Snake as well, which is quite nice. Owls FTA, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Emo Guide, there's like, I think I took like a 4-week break from posting YouTube videos because I was just like writing nonstop, like day in, day out after I finished work. But yeah, so sorry for YouTube audience that took a little while to get out, but I'm glad to be back a little bit. I'm also back in Tokyo. But I move around a lot for my work, so I don't know how long I'll be back in Tokyo for. Still though, right now I'm back, so I thought it'd be a nice time to stream. Yellow, well, it does have a Straw Hat Searcher now. Oh, why is my pen so thick? It's fine, I guess. But yeah, technically, I mean, we have a Searcher now. 4 costs 5,000 though. 4 costs quite heavy, but you can technically trigger it out. You do have to trash a card though. So in a way, it's just a hand cycle that plays out a character. It's not bad, but yeah. I wish that we had more low-cost searchers. Maybe I don't actually wish that. Consistency in the game's getting pretty absurd. Romeo, Vinsmoke Romeo. Shout out. Good name. Thoughts on Crocodile? I think Crocodile's good. The ace matchup is just very difficult. If the ace matchup could be solved, I think that deck would be like tier 1 to 1.5. As long as the ace matchup exists, it's going to be quite difficult, though. Then, how does Emu look? I assume you mean in OP14. I think Emu is still the best deck. Yeah, Lysol. Yeah, the thing is, like, that's kind of how they're balancing a lot of decks recently, is that they give them insane power and little consistency, or they give them good consistency and little power. Which is why you have things like Mihawk, which is just like, if you can draw exceptionally well every single game, then you're just going to be the best deck on the day. And if you don't, well, then you just kind of, you go home quickly. Ima and Ace are some of the outliers where they have consistency and power. So that's why they have been so consistently at the top of the meta for the last 3 months in Japan. I think Mihawk's a bit fake just because it's like a solid deck, but I compare it to Roger. But, I mean, even Roger's not bad. You just need to draw well consistently. But I think for these kinds of tournaments, it's quite difficult. Thank you, Oscar Torres, for the $5. I appreciate it very much. Tomorrow. Yeah, so for people who stopped by chat just now, I am at the Tokyo Championship tomorrow, which means that I'm not going to be streaming unless I lose too quickly. So if you don't see my stream, that means that I'm doing well. Maybe you'll see me on this stream, which means that I'd be doing very well. I don't know how well I'm going to end up doing. But yeah, I am going to be playing Ima, as people would have expected, but I thought about a lot of decks. The decks that were in contention for me to play were Ima, Blue-Purple Luffy, Green Bonnie. I think Green Bonnie's pretty solid right now. And Blue-Purple Sanji. But all of those decks require me to dodge something. You can't really realistically dodge Ace. And I was thinking that there's going to be a lot of like random decks that are coming to dodge Ima, whether it's Green Bonnie. Oh, maybe that's it. I'm sure that there's more, but I think there's a lot of decks. Oh yeah, Blue Yellow Nami, like we just saw on stream. There's a lot of good decks that are good if they can specifically dodge Ima, so therefore I decided that I'm going to bring Ima. But looking at the percentage, let's hold on, let me give this donation a heart. If we go back to the, where is it? There it is. Percentage. Mihawk was at 19%. Ace was right after that. Hancock after that. Ima after that. So people are just kind of wanting to play a lot of new decks. But then if you look at the conversion, Mihawk only 2 out of 16 after being 19%. So pretty low conversion. Ace, basically what you'd expect, maybe a little bit higher than the average. Ima, 3. Purple Doflamingo. We'll probably see Purple Doflamingo soon, I would imagine, unless they all got knocked out in the first round. But there's some pretty solid decks right now. The issue is that a lot of the new decks, like Jinbe, like Purple Doflamingo, and to a lesser extent, Hancock and Mihawk, beat Ima if you're not good at the matchup as Ima, so I'm a bit afraid of those. But Ima's still solid as long as you can learn the new matchup. It's just not as easy as it was before. Yeah. Ima's just a lot of fun, too. Yeah, it's just playing it like 13 rounds in a row in one day can be quite tiring. But if you get used to it, you get used to it. Fine. I don't know where it is. But there's another new card. One second. New card in OP14. Can't find any English translation. Oh, okay, hold on. One Piece top decks. There it is. Discard. Ground Death. 1 cost, which means that you can actually put it into your Ima deck. Main, you can rest 2 of your own cards and negate the effect of one of the opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less during this turn. Then counter, if you have 10 or more cards in your trash, give your leader up to one of your characters plus 4,000 power for this battle. Very, very good when you're going for lethal, whether it's in the mirror or against Ace to get rid of their 4-cost Marco or Wokiri. And also, because there's a lot of anti-Ima cards that have been printed in OP14, whether it's the 5-cost Virgo or the 5-cost Tashigi, you can also negate their effects so they don't have removal protection anymore, and then use things like Mars to be able to KO it. So this card's just super solid. Makes Ima very good, but there's a lot of strong opposition to Ima now as well, so it doesn't necessarily make Ima the strongest deck in the format like some people were thinking it may when they showed the Ground Death. But yeah. What happened to the All Blue podcast? It's my fault. I've been out of Tokyo, so it's been difficult to record, and I think that there's been a lot of OP13 regionals and treasure cups and whatnot because everyone wants the serial Zoro, so it's just been hard to match up our schedules because Even if like two of us are free, it'll be like Jonas is like, ah, sorry, I have a treasure cup today, can't go, or Avoy is like, nah, I'm in a hotel room, I'm gonna have like terrible audio and everyone's going to make fun of me again because he gets that comment quite a lot. So we haven't had the time to film, because we're in 3 different time zones, but we do want to bring that back. Yeah. It is, yeah, playing Emu is ballsy. If I had more time, maybe I would play a different deck, but I'm very confident on Ema. And I feel like even if I were to bring something that's specifically better poised into the meta that I expect to see, then I kind of forgot where I was going with that thought. But I think that would be better to play a deck that I'm more comfortable with rather than playing a deck that would naturally be better into the meta. So because I'm pretty confident with Ema, I think that's just the choice for me. Yeah, Ema versus Ace going first. Try to stay at 3 life. Try to stay at 3 life and take out the opponent's things that are like 6 cost or less, whether it's like 5 cost Yamato, 4 cost Marco, 6 cost Jose. Try to make so their board is only 10 cost new gates, and chip away at the opponent while staying as healthy as possible so that you're staying out of Roger range and eventually you'll win. Also, if you have the 1 cost Shiralashi, finding a good timing to play that on like 9 Dong is pretty solid too. Yeah. Yeah, no, Ervoya is just insane recently. He's just popping off, so, more power to him to go to those regionals and just keep winning. Yeah. Bad against... Dofi... Tricky to say, because it's bad against Ace and good against Ema. And the reason for that's the 10 cost of Flamingo, because the 10 cost of Flamingo makes it so that 3 of the opponent's 7 cost or less characters can't attack the next turn. Or no, not can't attack, can't block. Or no, fuck. Can't be rested, which means that they can't block nor they can't attack. So you just lock all of Ema's characters and just make it so they can't find lethal, and it gets a bit tricky. But it's still doable. Surprisingly, it's still doable for Ema. I missed a couple of things. Thoughts on Roger? Roger's pretty difficult now because he has Slash, and having Slash in the top right corner means that you struggle against Mihawk. So that's kind of the unfortunate reality right now. I think that Mihawk... just annoying deck. I don't hate Mihawk as much as I hate Hancock, but yeah, let's see what's in the top 8. We have 2 Mihawk, 2 8, oh, 1 Ace, 1 Ema, 1 Doflamingo. Oh my god, it's so long. We have 2 Mihawk, 2 Ace. Look, why do I keep saying 2? 2 Mihawk, 1 Ace, 1 Emu, 1 Purple Doflamingo, 1 Blue Yellow Nami, 1 Blue Purple Luffy, and 1 Blue Jinbe. So, now, despite Mihawk only representing 2 out of the top 16, both of them have made it through, whereas 3 out of the 4 aces have disappeared, and 2 out of 3 emus have disappeared. So now it's a very level playing field. Yeah. Okay, Jinbe is good. It's similar to Purple Doflamingo, where it struggles into ace, but it beats a lot of the other things. So, I mean, with only 1 ace left in Top Cut, there's a pretty solid chance of something like Purple Doflamingo or Blue Jinbe actually winning. And Mihawk can win. If it gets to this point, Mihawk just needs to draw well for 3 more games, and then, like, he's golden. Very interesting Top Cut. There's a lot of interesting decks right now. We have that Blue Yellow Nami from before. Blue Purple Luffy also survived. Unfortunately, Blue Purple Sanji did disappear. Sorry to the people's cope. I think that deck's also pretty solid. Blue Purple Sanji with EV03 got the 5 cost Reiji. Reiji, just really good card. Lets you play any 7 cost or less event. I don't know if it's specifically locked to a color. I don't think so. From your trash, if your leader is Sanji, just makes it really easy for that deck to control larger characters because you're playing a character while also red rocking something like 10 cost ace or 10 cost new gate in ace. Yeah, unfortunately, we aren't going to see any blue purple Sanji today. Let's see what we get though for the top 8 match. Yeah, I know. It's so sad that Vivi has Slash. Actually though, I had one of my friends was testing Vivi versus Mihawk, and it's not as bad as you may expect, despite the opponent being 6k leader with 5 life. But yeah, it's still not easy, and also Ema is a very difficult matchup for Vivi. So Vivi, while not bad, does lose to some pretty popular decks in the meta right now, so a bit difficult to play her, but she isn't the worst deck that you can bring. That's a fire dragon. Basically, how you play out the matchup as VV is you just keep clearing their characters. Things like the 5-cost Hashi are a bit annoying because it has some sort of protection on itself, but you can just reduce the power of the Tashigi and just shake it out with actual attacks. I'm not a Jinbei hater. I'm not a Jinbei. I guess. Am I a Jinbei hater? I play Ime, and Jinbei beats Ime. I don't want to hit Jinbei, but I don't hate the deck. It's a cool deck. I think it's very difficult from what I've heard. It's very, very difficult. Thank you, Oscar Torres, for another donation. $20. Thank you very much. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I could tell you about tomorrow. I do have something cool planned for tomorrow. Maybe I can give you a sneak peek. 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. I'll show you something cool that I've been working on. そう。So, as if it wasn't obvious already, I'm going to be playing Inu tomorrow, and I've gotten my stuff ready to make it very clear that I'm on the government's side. So, I don't know if my voice is actually going to be easy to hear, but we're trying our best tomorrow. I noticed actually, as I was putting this together, that I look kind of like Sugimoto from what's it called again? Oh my god, I'm blanking on the name of the anime. I can't remember, but Sugimoto, the guy from the Aina anime. Yeah, I'm going tomorrow as Gunko. I have all of the stuff ready. I only brought the mask and the hat just now, but I have a wig. I have a jacket. I'll show you the jacket. I put it together. It's pretty cool. You guys said I hope you lose. I mean, at least that gives me more time to make content. Yeah, so we have, it's just a jacket, but I put golden buttons on it, and like I have long sleeves and whatnot. I have it cropped to the correct length. I don't know exactly what the situation is going to be for the pants and legs situation, but I'll figure that out as I go. Still though, I have my stuff ready for tomorrow, so a bit of a sneak peek. Thanks to Oscar's donation that I was able to show you that. Thank you very much for the donation, and let's get into the next game. I'll go hang this back up. Okay. Okay, and I am back. We have Ime versus Purple Doflamingo. This is going to be an important matchup. Let me see if I've missed some messages. I remember there's someone who was potentially going to be on the stream with me commentating, but they needed to find a setup. It seems like, as I haven't gotten a message back, that they weren't able to find a setup. But that's fine. Okay, let's see this matchup. Seems like Ime is going to be going first. This matchup is generally going to be favored for Purple Doflamingo, but it's not impossible for Ime in the slightest. I think Ime just needs to be very careful about the timings and where you hit with your attacks. Make sure that you actually can start to close out the game before the opponent puts down too many 10-cost Doflamingos. People have been talking about starving. I don't necessarily agree with that. This starting hand is quite brutal, though. So hopefully he can cycle into some better cards. Yeah. Well, we'll see. So, Ime is going to be going first. I don't think that the Mars is going to have too much high value. You can technically get rid of the opponent's things like 4-cost sugar. You can get rid of some of their cards, but the issue with you doing that is that you get the on KO effect. There's also the 5-cost Monet. There's a lot of those really good on KO effects that Doflamingo has that he wants to be using through his leader effect, so just giving them that free effect with Mars isn't actually going to be that beneficial in this matchup. Looking, though, at Doflamingo's side, pretty solid curve. You can go the 1-cost Dillinger to get that search, basically for free, because you get the Dong back after you use your leader effect with the Dillinger. You get Baby 5, who ramps you 1 Dong, and then on KO will heal you 1 life, though that's generally better in the late game. And then the most devastating card in this matchup, probably the most devastating matchup, is going to be that 5-cost Virgo, because it is a 5-cost 7000 with protection against the opponent's effects, meaning that you can't actually get rid of it with the Marcus Mars unless you were to first, for example, use Ground Death and nullify the effect. So, going to see how he navigates this matchup. Isn't going to be easy for Ima, but is not impossible in the slightest. We're going to start with leader effect. Just get rid of a 2k. Oh, okay. Judge is telling him to get his Dong. Sees the Ground Death, so he does actually have the cards to be able to get rid of that Virgo on curve, which is quite nice. But we'll see if he ends up electing to do so, because that does burn a lot of cards from your hand when you do so. Yeah, I'll be updating the Ima guide with OP14 stuff. I'm just not super confident yet in the matchups, so I want to take some time to learn the matchups before I write about them. But yeah, I definitely will. Picks up the 5-cost Roshnante. There's a pretty solid target off of the 8-cost Doflamingo. Has a lot of 5-costs now in hand, though, is going to play down that Dillinger. And now, this turn is going to probably set the stage for how Ima is going to play out the rest of this game. Is he going to swing, or is he going to just leave that Dillinger on the board? Plays out the Shadia. Won't be able to use leader effect to get rid of it, as he uses leader effect to draw into that Shadia, I believe. Think about what he wants here. Now, Sturo is not bad. 10-cost Gorose might also be a solid option here. I think the Gorose is fine. I do think that in this matchup you need to sort of play the long game, so picking up those 10-cost Gorose from the beginning is going to be quite important. This goes for 5k. I think that this is correct. I think that starving is a mistake versus Doflamingo, because Doflamingo is so tanky that you probably just end up running out of time. But yeah, Doflamingo going to use the leader effect to redirect the attack into the Dillinger. With the Dillinger's on KO effect, ramps 1 Dong, so effectively for free, just gets a search while also defending an attack. Very, very good. Very good card. In tandem with that leader effect, is going to see, I believe, the 8-cost Doflamingo alt art in his search, I think. And probably is going to just pick that up. Yep. Is going to send the rest of the cards, including at least one 8-cost Doflamingo, to his hand, or to the bottom of his deck. But picks up one of them to his hand, so now he has a pretty solid curve. Next, he's going to be able to play out the 4-cost Baby 5, I believe, from his hand. Next turn, play out 5-cost 7000 Virgo or something into that 8-cost Doflamingo. Very solid curve right now. If he can also manage to find a 10-cost Doflamingo, then he'll be very, very happy. Yep. Still plays out the Baby 5, is going to be at 7 Dong next turn, but not necessarily a deck that can really capitalize on that Dong acceleration quite yet. By the time we get it. Yeah, I think global release is definitely going to help the game a lot, because I think there's a lot of really cool decks that are underexplored in this meta that I wish the West also had time to look at. Because I think Moria is also pretty solid too. I think Moria is quite underrated. Crocodile is quite underrated. But I think there was a 7-2 Crocodile, as far as I heard. There was a Crocodile and Red-Green Luffy that barely missed out on Top Cut. Yeah. Plays out a second Shadia, which again he can't get rid of with his leader effect. Still not a huge issue for Doflamingo. There's actually a nice thing about leaving Shadia on the board against Purple Doflamingo, in that once the opponent were to play out the 1-cost... Ooh, what does that do? Ooh. Wait, does that put back a Dong? No. I don't remember the trigger on Nodal Beam Solo, but solid card. I believe the 2-cost event plus 2k, and then just rest on the opponent's cards. So pretty good, just kind of a big Punk Gibson in a way. Oh, it's a ramp trigger. No! Oh my god. Sorry, I just realized he's at 6 now. Ramps 1, so he's going to be at 8-cost Doflamingo next turn.
What? What?
Sorry, what I was going to say about Jardia is that it's sometimes nice to actually leave it on the board in this matchup because when the opponent plays out the one-cost sugar, he can't actually defend the one-cost sugar, as you actually have characters on the board that can take it out for pretty easy. But still, having this many Charlie on the board is just going to mean that his hand's going to be very, very thin from very early on. Doesn't even play out a character on this 5-dong turn, despite the amount of searches that he was able to do. Doflamingo, with that double ramp from his Baby 5 as well as his trigger, is going to be able to play out not just the Virgo, but also the 8-cost Doflamingo with it alongside it. Going to be at 10 dong next turn. And also has the 10-cost Flamingo in his hand. I do think you probably want to hold on to that 10-cost Flamingo for when the opponent actually starts playing down the 10-cost Gorose, because then you can lock a bunch of the opponent's characters. But because he's at this point so quickly, you can make the argument to just lock whatever Imu decides to play down on this turn. Imu can potentially play down something like Warcury. No, these options are really bad. You may end up just going for Ground Death into Mars or something. Oof. Man. Oh yeah, going for the Ground Death. So is going to nullify the opponent's Virgo. So now, although it does have KO protection, with this nullification and the Mars effect is going to be able to KO the Virgo anyways. Now this is a -3 hand, but we'll be able to get rid of that character and make it so the opponent's only character on board is going to be that Doflamingo. So a little bit of easing. Still not a great position for Ima to be in because his hand size is getting very, very low very quickly, while Doflamingo was able to play out an 8-cost 9,000 and 5-cost 7,000 an entire turn earlier than he was expecting to. Yeah, I believe on this turn, because there's only one character that's actually an attacker, playing down the 10-cost Flamingo is just going to be a big waste. You do want to wait for that 10-cost Gorose to actually come down. So you probably end up just playing out the 5-cost Rosnante as well as another 5-cost. I think that's Mone in his hand. Just spread out board and just make a lot of smaller attacks to try to be able to deal with the Ima's resilience. Oh no, he's at 9 dong now. Is he supposed to be at 9 dong? My bad. 3, 4. Yeah, no, he's at 9 dong. Checks with 5k at leader. Mid still does have the counter, but the more that he counters out these attacks, the less options he's going to have for the next turn. Elects to take this first attack. 9k at leader. What's he going to do about this one, though? Is he just going to take the free block with Mars? Oh, the minus... Sorry, guys. It's been a while. Yeah, on-play effect from Doflamingo is -1 dong. Right. It plays down the Mone. Oh, right, yeah, you can just do it anyways. That gets dong active? Let me check this card. I'm learning with you guys. Remember, this set came out 1 week ago. It's dong active. Yeah, if your leaders don't get to pirates, you get 1 dong active, and then on KO, draw 2, trash 1, and then get 2 dong active, or arrested. So basically just a ramp 2 if you use your leader effect. But at this point, now that he has 10 dong, not going to be a huge difference. Also is just going to cut that 0-cost event, Kamasari, to just get more cards into hand. Feeling very solid right now. Sorry, I'm learning these matchups as we go. Very comfortable. Man, this feels like I'm just watching Green Purple Flamingo, but like modern version. Or the Blue Green Doshinante. They have a lot of similar sort of effects with that. And Ima still not at 10 dong. So very tricky. Has he not seen Saturn yet? At the very least, hasn't seen it in his trash. I don't see his hand. I see Warcury. He might be missing Saturn. Despite this many searches. He does have enough cards in his trash for that empty throne ability, but it's It's a really unfortunate spot to be in right now as Ima.
そうですね。
Oh,
大きく、
seems like,
やることないという
I mean,
と
I
こ
don't
ろ
know
で
if you
す
need that
ね。
many dong. Yeah. I think you probably, I mean, it doesn't end up mattering that much.
で、フラミンゴで。
リーダーのとフラミンゴ交換しよう。戻してまた最初自分のリーダーに変更します。
Okay.
リーダー
Swings 9k into Doflamingo to trying to get a card out of the opponent's hand, but Doflamingo is going to redirect the attack with his leader effect into his leader to just get that one extra card. Now is down to 2 life, but has a very large hand with also that Slow Beam Sword in his hand. So going to be pretty solid. Very comfortable position for Doflamingo right now. Has so many cards in his hand, so many options as well. In a very low roll right now, just going to play out the Warcury and pass after basically just giving the opponent one free card. So we'll be able to stop one attack with that Warcury, but he needs to draw into the Tenka Skorose, not Tenka Skorose, 4-cost Saturn, basically right now.
そうですよね。キャラにもいけるし、リーダーにもいける。
Mihawk and Bonnie are both solid. I personally prefer Bonnie, but they're both like a green magical color that you draw your cards and you do well, or you hit the wrong matchup and you win or lose. There's a lot of volatility in both of those decks. But I like Bonnie in general, but Mihawk is very, very popular right now. And in terms of power, very strong. One of the strongest decks in the game right now, but it does need to draw his pieces. This K leader is going to be countered with 2k. Now, he will be able to stay rather healthy, but if he can't find that 4-cost Saturn, then he's going to run out of steam very quickly.
ライフにありそうですかね、なんかもしかしたらね。
Yeah, defends that attack as well. Is probably just hoping to find it off of the next couple of draws from his leader effect, draw for turn, and potentially even the block out of Warcury. I believe he will end up blocking with that Warcury on this turn just to get that extra draw and to stay as healthy as possible. It does mean that he won't be able to leader effect something off his board for a free draw. So, quite a bit unfortunate, or a bit of an unfortunate scenario. Plays out the sugar, just going to keep searching. This is going to start expanding Doflamingo's resources because now Ima is in a situation where he can still probably take it out should he choose to, but he will have to spend a lot of resources to just get rid of a 0-power character. And if this sugar were to stay on the board, the opponent can keep continuously redirecting the opponent's attacks to just make sure he gets a lot of resources. Still though, not really expecting this sugar to stay on the board for too long, because he does have that 10-cost Doflamingo in hand, is waiting for the opponent to play down the 10-cost Gorose to lock all of the opponent's characters, not even letting them block, and try to just put a ton of pressure on Ima. And Ima, hand very, very small right now. Those attacks are going to hurt a lot.
5000でリーダーにアタック。
いや、いや、この5000にぐらいですもんね。いや、そうですよね。
Ima player looks sad.
これ。
8枚です。
I'm not sure. I feel like I've seen him before. I feel like I've seen both these players before. I think a couple of people in chat have been mentioning that Doflamingo is a champion, which I personally am not too sure. I can't say yes or no. But if multiple people are saying it, then I guess he is a champion. But I've definitely seen the guy on the left before. I don't know if I've fought him or if I've just seen him around Tokyo area. Is going to take that next attack to leader. Probably just digging as far into his deck as possible to find any Saturn to his name. But now going down to 1 life with the opponent's 10-cost Doflamingo on the horizon is going to be very scary. Potentially even thinking about hitting with Baby 5. Oof. Oh my god, he's going for it. Oh, that's so devastating. Ima has no counter in his hand. He has to use the never existed on this. Ah, this is so tragic. Oh, I mean, this is great for the Doflamingo stance in chat, but this is very brutal as Ima. He's just not drawing anything.
いや、確かにベビーベイ別にね、レストになろうがなんだろうが、どっちでもいいですもんね、リーダー効果あるから。
Doflamingo generally is favored into Emu. You'll see from the next turn how impressive this gets, but just that trigger Noronoro Beam Sword to ramp him one dong alongside the baby 5 that was giving him one dong as well just makes it so there's very little that Emu can do. Let's play out the sugar. I guess that's fine. You're not going to use the 1-cost sugar anyways. Gets 2 dong active from Roshinante as well, meaning that not only does he have his leader effect, but he also has Noronoro Beam Sword active. So will be very difficult for Emu to actually take back the opponent's board. And Doflamingo setting up for a very comfortable win in the next couple of turns with that 10-cost Doflamingo that he's been holding on to since the very beginning of this game. Or since like turn 3. Still, picks up the Saturn. Better late than never. So I believe now we'll have all of the Gorose in trash to be able to at least get 5 Gorose onto the board, which is the bare minimum right now. Unfortunately, 3 of those characters will just basically not be able to do anything Doflamingo's turn with that 10-cost Doflamingo being able to lock 3 of the opponent's characters that cost 7 or less from blocking or attacking. Yeah, blocking or attacking because it cannot be rested. So the opponent's going to lock the opponent's Mars, Workury, and something else. And just keep hammering hits into Emu to try to make it as difficult for Emu as possible to actually close out the game. Plays out the Saturn first. He's just going to pick up another Saturn. One unfortunate thing with that ground death is that it's not searchable, so is going to have to send that to the bottom. Well, he really did want some counter. But uses leader effect to get rid of that Saturn, to get that 1 extra draw, and is now going to use that 10-cost Gorose. Explode onto the board. We'll only have 2 dong left, and has 1 counter event right now in hand, but the number of cards that he has in hand versus the number of attacks that Doflamingo potentially has on the board is going to be very difficult to deal with. If you were to even swing at less than 9,000, for example, then Doflamingo can redirect the attack into that 8-cost Doflamingo and just basically make it so that one of those attacks never existed. So there are some tricky things you can do, like using Nasujiro to attack into something for 7k while reducing the power of Doflamingo. But those scenarios actually only come up if you have more dong, and because he only has 2 dong left, and now has 2 counter events in his hand in the plus 3k event as well as never existed, probably doesn't want to use the rest of his dong, is just going to need to swing with the 2 attacks that he has. But it's going to be very difficult for him to actually take out any relevant characters on the opponent's board. He's going to at least be able to KO 1 with Mars. But now these attacks are just going to be at the mercy of Doflamingo. Yeah. Swings into Monet. I don't even know if you necessarily need to redirect the attack into Baby 5. I think that one of the reasons why he may have put down Sugar the turn before was to be able to just play out that 5-cost Monet that's in his hand more efficiently. You could also just redirect the attack into Sugar, just get a solid attacker onto the board, and then use the attacks that are on your board with that 10-cost Flamingo to just put in as many attacks as possible into the opponent's leader. Deciding what he wants to do. Has a couple of ways that he can end up dealing with these attacks. Really think about what he wants to do. It seems like the Emu player has used quite a bit of his counter events at his disposal as well, so these attacks from Doflamingo are going to be quite difficult to deal with. Going to use his leader ability, redirect attack into, looks like Sugar. Seems, yeah, okay. Sugar goes, and now, as we were mentioning, is going to be able to play out a relevant attacker, which is going to just deal a lot of damage to Emu's hand, which the Doflamingo player knows is very starved for a basic counter right now. I'm going to play out that Monet now. Get 1 dong back, not that it matters at this point, and it's just going to keep swinging 6k, because he doesn't want to touch any of his remaining dong onto his leader. into that Monet once again, desperately trying to take out at least one character. Yeah. Doflamingo now thinking about it. Is going to use the Noronoro Beam Sword. Is going to plus 2k to the Monet, and also rest on the opponent's characters. Is going to rest that War Curie, so now War Curie can no longer become a blocker on the next turn. And will defend it with an extra 1k, because there is a minus 1k on Monet as well. Now Doflamingo has the turn back with 4 attacks minimum on the board. If he plays it out. I don't see... You can technically... Oh, no. There's also the option, I guess, of instead of resting the War Curie, you rest the Mars, and then you play down Usohachi to rest the War Curie, and then you have 7 Dong at your disposal, and the opponent has nothing. Yeah, instead, just going to start with the 9k attack. And Ima, knowing that Tenka Flamingo is a very likely possibility, just wants to make sure that he doesn't get as much value as possible, immediately blocking with Mars. If he was going to go for it like this, I definitely feel like there's probably a better way to play out the turn before. Thinking about what he wants to do with the rest of his Dong, knows at the very least that there is a plus 3k in the opponent's hand, and because of the way that the opponent hit, is very likely to have more than 1 counter event in his hand. So you assume the opponent has probably 2 counter events in hand, the rest of the cards you don't actually know. He's going to attack 6k once more. This is probably the most annoying threshold, so you will have to use a counter event, plus 3k, which is what Doflamingo expected. Thinking about what he wants to do with the rest of his attacks. It's going to be difficult to go for lethal now, but still does have 10 Dong at his disposal. So if he can potentially take out a character, for example, and just lock the rest, then he'd be golden. But Ima probably not going to let that happen. Still, though, the nice thing about this Tenka Flamingo is it's not that they just can't block, it's that they can't attack either, because they just can't become rested for the entire turn. So despite Ima having a lot of attackers on the board, doesn't necessarily mean that Ima is actually that much closer to lethal. Doflamingo's still quite comfortable. Has 2 life, has the 10 cost Doflamingo, also has leader effect, though it will force him to minus his Dong by 4, which means he won't be able to play multiple in a row. Does have a lot of defensive options at his disposal. Is going to play that 10 cost Flamingo, minus 3 Dong, and then he can choose, technically, if his leader is Don Quixote Pirates, to KO an 8 cost or less, but because you can't KO Ima's cards, is just going to choose the second effect, which locks 3 7 cost or less characters from being able to rest. Means that now Ima does have... Oh, interesting, they have little lock tokens. Yeah. War Curie is still a relevant attacker, is going to be 7k, but Doflamingo still feeling quite comfortable. Ima does find another counter event, which is something. And if he can potentially search into another one off of Saturn, I mean, maybe even a 2k is just better, because Doflamingo's just been bullying with 2ks. But Doflamingo's hand is starting to get a bit low in size, which is exactly as we talked about could happen in this matchup. Did I mention this? I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning. This is basically how you have to play it out as Ima, where you just slowly whittle away at the opponent's resources, because Doflamingo's resources don't necessarily get bigger, unless, of course, you were to redirect the attack into Monet, but then you lose an attacker. Whereas Ima, the longer the game goes, eventually he's going to be able to win, and because Doflamingo, if he doesn't have the 8-cost Doflamingo with an active Dong on the board, which only happens if you have the 5-cost Roshinante as well on the board, you won't be able to play multiple of those 10-cost Doflamingos in a row. So if Ima can survive this next turn, then he's actually in a pretty solid spot, despite that terrible, terrible opening. Goes 7k leader. Doflamingo thinking if he wants to accept that or use his leader effect to redirect the attack somewhere else. Still has the +1 life available from baby 5, but decides not to use it, electing that that's not the time right now. Plays out the 10 cost Gorose, number 2, and Doflamingo still only at 7 dong. And options in hand starting to get a bit sparse. I feel like I would have wanted to put a bit more aggression on the opponent as Doflamingo the turn before, but that might just be the emo player and me speaking. Does see another counter event. Also sees another Peter. Peter might actually be better here because the opponent's been hitting at 6k, but the opponent can also respond and just make the attacks bigger. So kind of just the opponent's attacks will change depending on what you end up showing here. So these are probably the two options, the plus 3k or the plus 2k. He does have enough dong to be able to leave up all of them, so in general I feel like the plus 3k would just be better, but it depends if he wants to use the rest of his dong for something this turn. Really thinking about it. He has a lot of dong at his disposal. I don't see his hand, but yeah, I think it's like you might as well pick that up. Just pick up the one with more counter, even though the opponent's just going to swing at 6k and you're going to be forced to defend that with a plus 3k anyways. It prevents the opponent from being able to punish you by hitting at like 7k, for example. But still, thinking about his Mars effect, though. I think he's choosing not to use it, just trying to keep as much counter as possible. I think Crocodile is very good. It's just the ace matchup is brutal. Ima's a pretty good matchup. Doflamingo's a pretty good matchup. Mihawk is also a pretty good matchup. Like, it has a lot of really good matchups in the meta, it's just that ace is just devastating. Ooh. He went leader. Making sure that he's going to end the game next turn, basically saying that he's going to be able to survive all of these attacks that Doflamingo has. Doflamingo will be able to rest at least that War Curie with that 3-cost Usachi, which we don't know if Ima is aware of right now. Ima may be in a bit of a scary position that he expects because he thinks that the 10-cost Doflamingo can't come down. But just going to keep hitting the opponent's leader. 7k once again. Doflamingo now at 0 life. Either is going to be forced to counter it out of hand, or more likely just redirect the attack somewhere. Thinking about it, has he already redirected attack? I don't think so. The Ima matchup isn't as bad for Crocodile. There's a very specific way you have to play it out. You have to be more aggressive than you'd expect, but it's not the worst matchup. It's just ace matchup is, as far as my testing, felt very, very brutal. Decides to use the 0 cost event to get the +3 onto leader to defend that attack. Very low on hand size now, making it so that now, if Doflamingo doesn't end the game on this turn, most assuredly the game is going to end. Has a very big board, but does have that 3-cost Usachi in hand. Is he going to be enough? I think just the number of attacks that he has on the board is probably too much for Ima to deal with. Plays out the Usachi. See how he reacts. Oh, thinking about it. He's really thinking about it. But I feel like resting 3 dong there implies the opponent exactly what he has. Making sure that this is the best option to him, but at least from my perspective, it seems like the only option to himself. Yeah. This matchup was very brutal. Ima couldn't draw what they needed at all for a very, very long time. Ooh, I mean, he's thinking. I don't know if you do this. I think if he didn't rest his 3 dong, I mean, honestly, he probably just says lethal anyways. I haven't done the math at all. But like, this is a lot of counter. Oh, he's really thinking about this. Okay, let's think about this too then, because he's given us time. Let me pull out some Dong cards so we can do this at the same time. Okay.
さあ序盤からしっかりと鈍化速していた最短距離を歩んでいた小犬選手。ここ
Okay,
は
yeah.
直線の
I
リー
think
ダー
because he rested 3 Dong, it indicated the opponent that he had Usachi. Which seems like a bit of a mistake, but still. Doesn't pick up any counter off that, so it doesn't actually help him that much. Just absorbs an attack, which is probably not really what he wanted. I don't think that was the correct play there. But 6k is going to be blocked. He's at 4 cards, is going to defend one of them with 6, has 1 left.
9戦でのリーダーアタック
He... Oh no, he should be fine. Yeah.
まだ9ドン使える小犬選
2,
手。
3.
お、
お
ここには
Oh,
サーチに
oh,
なります
picks up a 2k. That's something.
2000カウンターですね。ニョスガルド製。さあ、見えているアタック
Okay, so the 9k. What does he have in hand to be able to play like this? I don't know what some of these cards do. Like, I don't know what Tribble does. But I think that, yeah, no, not playing the Usachi there was really weird. Because he rested the Dong first, which, like, I can understand maybe. I don't agree with it. But I think his logic was he wanted to play he wanted to attack with 6k first, the opponent to counter that, and then he plays the Usachi over the Monet. But by resting the 3 Dong first, also because you're just playing a purple deck in general, you show the opponent, like, I have Usachi, I'm thinking about playing it. And the opponent's just always going to block with Usachi first, or block with Workery first to get out of Usachi range. So he lost the attack from Monet. Ended up getting a free draw, which, to be fair, didn't matter, because it was counterless. But got the extra draw. Now he only has 2 attacks left, unless he uses that baby 5 as an attacker. So he can go... and... Oh, he's going 11? Wait, that sounds weird to me. He only has 8 Dong left. So the next is 13, so the opponent can defend that with +4, +4, +2. Oh no! Oh my god! Doflamingo! Did he have lethal anyways? Or like, did he have lethal if he were to have played Usachi? I feel like that was a throw. No, that was not the right way to use your Dong. So I feel like... Oh no, I think that was just a very weird way to play out that turn. But Usachi could have been the game, could have been the difference there, but Doflamingo, for whatever reason, very hesitant to remove that baby 5. And now, with his leader effect at the very least, is going to be able to redirect the attack into baby 5. Gain 1 life, but... I mean... It's just, he has a lot of counter in his hand, to be fair, but it seems like a little bit too little too late. That's just a very weird way to play out that turn, I feel. I do have to say, though, as someone who not sitting in that chair, there's a lot of pressure when you're sitting there. He's also been playing, I believe this is going to be the 10th round of the day for him. And also, you know, maybe he already did the math. I haven't done the math, I'm just kind of backseating, but no, that was very weird. Yeah, I do have to say I haven't done the math, so it might have been doomed either way. But thinking about what he wants to do here, Doflamingo does have a sizable amount of counter in his hand. I believe those are... I think Tribble is a 2k as well, so he does have a lot of 2ks in hand. Wonder how many Nasudo are left. Oh my god, it's another 2k. That's an insane amount of counter. 2k, 1k. Oh my god. Oh, he's fine. He's just better than us. He knew. He's fine. Doflamingo makes top 4. Never mind, he's just better. He's just better, guys. How much time did he have at the end? Yeah, no, he's fine. He just... Yeah. It's not even close. He always had it. Yeah.
足りて、
そうですね。足りたってことですね。だからイム側も1万2000アタックで1万3000でイム側もちょうどで守り切って自らの
It was a complicated... I should have pulled out the dong faster. I didn't expect that turn to go on longer. But we should have done the math. Yeah, thought about it until the end. Picked up the 2k from his life in the end. I think the last attack was 12k because you have the stage. But has enough counter in the end with all of the 2ks. Just draw better. I think I did a very poor job commentating over that game. I didn't know enough about Doflamingo, so my apologies there. But was a learning experience. Doflamingo, exceptionally tanky deck, and this is the reason why I say that you can't starve Doflamingo. Is because if you don't lose to the characters that he plays on the board, you're going to lose to the time limit. So you do have to end up hitting, because even in those situations where he was hitting, it ended up going basically to time, and it still wasn't enough. So unfortunately for Ima, not going to make the top 4, but we have a purple Doflamingo guaranteed to be in the top 4 now. Very nice.
なんかベスト8がね、こんな7リーダーいる時点でもめちゃくちゃ面白い環境なの間違いない上に、バトルも面白いんかいという。面白いですね。面白かったですね。いや14難めちゃくちゃいいですね。いや本当にすごいですね。もちろん両者のねプレイヤーの方も本当に素晴らしい。最後のライフ1枚までわかんないというね。めちゃくちゃナイスゲームしていただきました。
Yeah, top 8 has 7 different leaders. I don't know necessarily if that's an indication that OP14 is a lot more diverse, but it does just mean that, what is it? I mean, early meta, generally it's a lot more diverse, but maybe it'll end up settling to be something a bit more standard. Doflamingo kind of is purple NL, but a bit less top end. Yeah, it is a little bit purple NL build. We're going to see the top 4 probably in a couple minutes. They have to wait for all the other matches to end and for them to go to a little bit of a break. Moria's good. Yeah. My god. I feel like I did a very bad job covering that game. Doflamingo. Bit of a confusing deck to actually see how much they can actually survive. Yeah, Doflamingo is not a bad deck if you can just dodge ace. Even the ace matchup isn't the worst, but it's not easy. If you make the ace matchup good, then that's probably just the best deck. Mihawk and green in general, I think green's pretty good right now. There's a lot of very strong cards that green has access to. Mihawk's good. Consistency is something worth mentioning. Bonnie's also a pretty solid leader. I mean, Red-Green Luffy exists. I don't know if I'd necessarily call him that good. Red-Green Luffy's not bad. He also got some pretty solid OP14 buffs, but doesn't necessarily fix his weaknesses that much. The 4-cost Nami is very good into things like Ima, but the Ima matchup is still quite difficult, and I imagine that there's probably something else that I'm not aware of that makes that deck difficult to play as well. Yeah. What's the worst deck out of OP14? Worst deck in OP14 is, of the new leaders I imagine, is Redlaw. Then, favorite OP14 leader, I really like Crocodile. Crocodile is a lot of fun. Oh, looks like we're gonna see top 4. Zoro loses pretty hard to Mihawk. Ima, I think, is still the best, but, I mean, but there's none in the top 4, so that's something. We have Red Blue Ace, Green Mihawk, Blue Purple Luffy and Purple Doflamingo. So what happens here? Blue Purple Luffy has a pretty decent matchup into Mihawk and Ace. Mihawk is harder, to be fair. Oh no. I haven't tested that matchup enough. The matchup was relatively close. I do think it's probably slightly Mihawk favored. Ace versus Blue Purple Luffy is Blue Purple Luffy favored. Purple Doflamingo versus these new decks. Ace is difficult. Mihawk is pretty good for Doflamingo. Blue Purple Luffy versus Doflamingo, I have not tested. I have no idea. McKellen, thank you very much for the €5 or pounds. I think that's euro. Sorry. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I tried to commentate over events well to sort of stand in for official commentators, but when it's tricky late game scenarios with a deck that I'm not 100% familiar with, it does get complicated and my commentary does suffer a bit. But still, we have Ace, Mihawk, Luffy, and Doflamingo in the top 4. We have 2 new leaders and a couple of old ones. Still, though, the oldest leader here is OP11, so I take that for what you will. Green, how do you get soup from Mihawk? Yeah, Jinbe's gone, unfortunately. Jinbe might have hit the ace, because that was the big bad matchup that was remaining. I mean, the thing is... Yeah, true, just limit empty throne to 1. But the thing with Ima is that it's a very annoying deck, but they've been printing out a ton of answers to it. There's so many 5 costs now, whether it's the 5 cost Virgo, the 5 cost Tashigi, that have removal protection, which makes Mars much worse. There's also things like 4 cost Nami in green. There's the 10 cost Flamingo. There's Ground Death in a sense. I think there's at least another one. I'm blanking though, but there's a lot of counters that have been printed in OP14 for Ima that makes that matchup a lot more manageable for a lot of decks. So Ima, while in my opinion is still probably the best deck, it's not necessarily because he beats everything like he does in OP13. It's because every deck has bad matchups. You know, Ace loses to a lot of just like kind of random stuff. In general, Ace just has a lot of 50-50 matchups. Ima has a lot of good matchups, but also has a lot of bad matchups. A lot of the new leaders are bad matchups for Ima. In particular, Jinbe kind of bodies Ima just because you go 5k, 5k, 5k 18,000 times a game. And, but you look at the other leaders, you know, Mihawk has pretty solid matchup spread, struggles a little bit into some of the other new leaders like Crocodile and Doflamingo, but if he can manage to draw his parts, which isn't that impossible, they are, for the most part, searchable off of the 1 cost Piranha, but you only have 1 searcher, then Mihawk's very good. Hancock, also a solid deck. Kind of depends on how the opponent plays out the game, but that's just yellow in general. Moria, another deck that I think is pretty underrated. I think that, like, this is probably the first time, as far as I can remember, that the new OP14 leaders are all somewhat viable, except for Law. I think that Law is just basically a straight-up downgrade to Rayleigh, unfortunately. He has some cool things he can do, but in general, I feel like you're better off playing Rayleigh, and every other leader is just, like, pretty solid. Like, at least tier 2 to 2.5 or higher. It's too bad we didn't get any Jinbe on stream. I wonder what he lost to. I'm trying to listen to what the stream's saying. I think that we have already heard what the top 4 matchup was, but I missed which decks it was, unfortunately. I do want to see some Mihawk, though. We still haven't seen Mihawk, and there is still one in top 4. I feel like that would be the logical choice. A new leader that we haven't seen quite yet. Yeah, no, the Emu got devastated, but it was still close. It was close in the end, but Doflamingo magical left hand, 6-2Ks in hand, oh no, 5-2Ks and a 1K in hand, and it was GG. Yeah, it would be nice to see the brackets. I wonder why they don't do that. It's nice though that they actually got the percentages though. As far as what I've heard, that decision to show the percentage of the decks was actually thanks to Gavin. Just Gavin begging them to show some more stats on stream to actually talk about. So W Gavin there. But I mean, that's just kind of like what I've heard here and there from people in Japan, so I don't actually know how valid that is. Ooh, Blue Purple Luffy against. Yeah, we really want to see Mihawk. Just something new, because if it's not Mihawk, then it's probably going to be like Doflamingo, which we just saw, or Ace, which we really don't need to see more of. Blue Purple Luffy, very resilient leader, despite losing 2 extremely prominent cards, is going to still make it to the top 4. Just with an insane leader effect and very good stability once it reaches that Tendong turn. What's the next deck? Come on. It lost 8 cost Katakuri and 9 Mom, because they were pair banned. Okay, we are going to see the Mihawk. Green soup! Okay, so if the opponent's leader is Slash, then this leader gains plus 1000 power. That's just a permanent static effect, which would be, I don't know if static's the right word. I know that there's like weird wording for English cards, but just becomes a 6K leader, but isn't relevant in this matchup. Then activate main, you can rest one of your cards. It could be any card, your leader, your sage, your characters, your Don cards, to restand 3, and then you can't play out a character for the rest of the turn. Which basically means that you can swing into, especially these 3-life 6K leaders, you could just swing into the opponent's leader at 8K over and over and over again and really accelerate the pace while still developing a very powerful board. The strongest card within this deck, I mean, there's a lot of very good cards, but I think into this matchup, the strongest card would be that 9-cost Mihawk. 9-cost Mihawk being able to, when it's rested, lock one of the opponent's characters that's cost 9 or less from being rested, means that even if Blue Purple Luffy can ramp to that 9 costs and play something up very big very early, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be able to do too much if that Mihawk's on the board. Because Mihawk is, when it's rested, you can use it when you're leader with your leader effect, and also you can use it when you're attacking as well, because you rest the character to attack. So that's just an effect that keeps compounding over and over again, and it's very difficult to deal with unless Blue Purple Luffy has something like Red Rock. So I can see a couple of these sorts of factors coming into play in this matchup. I have not played out this matchup at all, so I'm just going to be supervising them and cheering for... Which side are we cheering for, chat? I think I can actually make a poll. Hold on. Engagement. Create a poll. Which side? Maybe... Okay. Which side do you want to win? Luffy or Mihawk? Oh my god, okay. Wasn't even close. Yeah, I think everyone has a bit of whiplash from Blue Purple Luffy back in OP11, OP12. Oh, it's coming a little bit closer though. But still, people do want the new leader to do well. Mihawk, just a very powerful leader. But he's going to be going first. I don't know which side you actually really want, because Mihawk is generally better going first. But Blue Purple Luffy with that 8-cost Roger is much easier for him to go second now. Just being able to ramp twice up to Tendong, play 9-cost Sanji into 8-cost Roger. Yeah. Just going to play out the stage. Now, interestingly, although you can't play characters after your leader effect, you will be able to still play out things like events or the stage, so very easy to get rid of some of those bricks from your hand. Oh, wait. It's Supernova! Supernova Mihawk. Oh, interesting. So the Law Beppo is Slash as well as Supernova, because Law is on the card. So is searchable off of the 1-cost 1-cost Perona as well as the 2-cost Kid Killer. That one dong that you get off of the Kid Killer is also somewhat relevant. Just being a card that you can also just keep continuously resting with your lead effect is quite nice as well. But pretty interesting. Think about what he wants to pick up. Also, the 5-cost Bonnie, a card that hasn't seen much play since his release in OP07, now coming back recently as just a way to really annoy the opponent. Whether it's against Ace when they get to 8 dung to make sure that they can't use their event, or, for example, against Blue Purple Luffy, if they were to ramp to... I guess it doesn't matter too much when you're going second, but if you're going first and you ramp to 9 dong, then you can prevent the opponent from playing a 9 cost on that turn, which may end up becoming relevant, but probably not within this game, as Blue Purple Luffy is going to be going second. Still, picks up that Bonnie anyways, is going to be able to lock in the opponent's dong, which could also make it awkward for Luffy to leave up counter events, for example, so not bad necessarily, but there's some pretty interesting things. This is one of those matchups that I just don't really know too much about. Still, Mihawk is going to just be putting in a lot of attacks on the opponent's leader, starting from that next turn. Doesn't seem to have a solid curve right now, but has some pretty interesting cards in hand. Has the 1-cost Luffy event, which I don't know the name of, but is basically the Electrical Luna with 3k counter. He has a Supernova card, I believe, so just another target for that Kid Killer. But Mihawk, not a deck that can really interact the opponent's board, so this Zoroark is going to be quite safe. Goes to 5 dong now, and has a couple of options. Will actually be able to, if he chooses to, lock the Zoroark out of attacking with that 5-cost Piranha. So not a bad choice at all. I do think that's probably the best choice. Yeah, goes for it. Plays down the Piranha, makes so that the Zoroark cannot attack, so Zoroark is not going to be able to ramp on the next turn. Gets 3 dong back, and is probably just going to start hitting 8k into leader to just try to chip away at the opponent's life to make it very difficult for him to restabilize the game later on. Okay. 8k into leader goes as expected. He does have another pit on his hand, so he could even potentially just re-lock the Zoro once again to just make sure that the Blue Purple Luffy, if he doesn't get the ramp on this turn, doesn't make it to 10 dong next turn. This is something that could potentially swing the game quite heavily into Blue Purple Luffy, or into Green Mihawk's advantage. Did I say responding? I don't know. Restanding, maybe? Sorry. English, difficult language. Oh, yeah. He does have a Sedai 4 in hand. Yeah, and the opponent has 6k, so he will be able to get the double ramp, so he will be able to get to 10 dong anyways, so yeah. Mihawk kind of taken aback, feeling a bit... Oh, this is a really nice move from Luffy. Didn't matter that the Zoroark got locked in the end. Japanese, for me, is easier when I'm talking about the game. Kind of depends on what I'm talking about. Because, for example, there's a... I'm sure he's much bigger than you. I would listen to this guy named Atriok a lot. So, like, randomly, just kind of as, like, background noise. And when I listen to his stuff, I end up learning a lot about stocks and taxes and stuff. And that sort of stuff I know better in English than Japanese because that's the content that I consume. But for the One Piece card game, because most of the time I play it in Japanese, it's much easier for me to use Japanese. Yeah, managed to get the double ramp thanks to that Isidai 4 in hand. If he didn't have that, would have been pretty difficult. So good thing he was able to restabilize with that. Didn't see that that was in his hand. So isn't going to be punished by that Pirona. But now, what does Mihawk have on this turn? There's a pretty good chance of being able to find the 7-cost Shanks early on, but doesn't seem like he has it quite yet. Wasn't able to play down the 1-cost Pirona as well to even try to look for it. Thinking about what he wants to do now, he can still play down that second Pirona to just slow down the game a little bit further. But right now, as Blue Purple Luffy, you're not really trying to create a state where your Zoroark and Nami on the board actually become relevant attackers. You're just trying to get to that 9-cost Sanji into X, and he already has the 9-cost Sanji in hand, so it's really just going to come down to what's in his top 5. Thinking... At the very least, Because you can't rest the characters, which means that this Nami also can't attack should he choose to. So after he uses his leader effect, you get 3 Dong back and hit for 8k. It's just going to keep putting a lot of pressure onto Luffy. Picks up this next life. Thankfully though, because you're Luffy, you still have a lot of good options in your hand, such as things like Gum Gum Giant. But let's see the first top 5 from Blue Purple Luffy. He has Sanji in hand. This is going to be very important. Oh, that's huge. Okay, he sees the Roger. Very important. The rest of the cards can end up being a little bit bricky, but I think this is totally fine. You go 9K Sanji into the Roger, you leave up a Dong, and you just be an 8k leader. And I think that you're in a pretty comfortable spot. When do you guys get this chroma, by the way? I saw something that it's coming out, but like, I don't know if it's legal for any relevant tournaments for you guys. January is quite a long way away. Well, hey, as soon as to answer your question, Evelyn, UP Luffy is still playable. You just need to wait for this Roger promo, because now Blue Purple Luffy, while developing a 9,000 power and a 10,000 power onto the board, is going to be 8,000 power until the next turn, swinging 8k into the opponent. And now Itosho, the green Mihawk player, is going to think about what he wants to do. Does have a lot of cards in his hand, and the benefit of Mihawk is you just have so much counter, because it's so easy to leave up counter for counter events, or leave up Dong for counter events. I don't necessarily think he needs to defend this attack. He doesn't have great options. Decides to take it, just picks up another 2k. He just has an insane amount of counter in his hand. But this is exactly what we were talking about this whole stream, while I was maybe not secretly, but somewhat openly hating on Mihawk, is that he's a very strong deck, but he suffers a lot from consistency. So now on this 9 Dong turn, he really would want to play out that 9-cost Mihawk, but right now his hand is just every single counter in the book. We haven't seen what the far right card is, the card that he just drew on this turn. It looks like another 5-cost Perona, which is probably not what you want to see. Yeah, I think that given the fact that he was playing, or he played the Perona on 5 Dong, I don't necessarily think that he needed to take the Perona. I think that you're correct, more games. I think taking the Law Beppo there would have been fine, but because he's going first, it's quite a long ways away that he may have been hesitant. Okay. I'm going to play down that Kid Killer once again. And this can find the Law Beppo, but it can't find things like the 9-cost Mihawk. It's at the top. Also runs Paradise Waterfall. Interesting. He doesn't have a target, no? Yeah, he doesn't have a target. No. What are we doing? What is he looking for? I mean, I guess he has to look for the Law Beppo, because that's the one card he wants to play next turn. But this is the duality of Mihawk. If, for example, I don't necessarily know... I mean, probably playing the 7-cost Shanks would still have been better the turn before. But if, for example, he was able to just curve a little bit better and play down the 9-cost Mihawk on this turn, then he would have been in a much better spot now, because he wouldn't have to worry about all of the attacks on the board. But unfortunately, because Blue Purple he was able to play that 9+9 and Mihawk failed to play out the 9-cost Mihawk, these attacks are really going to compound. And even though Mihawk has so much counter in his hand, he only has 2 life, and the deck just generally isn't that resilient in the face of all of these 9k attacks. At the very least, thanks to these Peronas, which has quite annoying KO effect, on-KO effect, he has been able to build up a lot of attacks and prevent the Tsunami from blocking, which makes it a bit awkward. for Blue Purple Luffy, but because of that Roger effect, he is going to be 8k for the entirety of this turn, making it so that even though Mihawk has a decent amount of Dong at his disposal, doesn't actually equate to that many attacks. Swings 9k into leader. Blue Purple Luffy, I think probably just identifying that he has a ton of counter events, not only in his hand, but also in the top 5. He will just want to use that early on. Not that he really had that much of a choice, but filtering out these cards right now to make sure that his top 5 are a little bit better. We'll see. Oh my god, there's another 8 cost. Why is it every time I play Blue Purple Luffy, I can't find a Roger to save my life, but every single stream Blue Purple Luffy I see always finds the 8 cost Roger and just spams him over and over and over again, then Blue Purple Luffy looks insanely broken. Yeah, I agree, Reftera. The early search was very weird, because that 5 cost Bonnie is just not going to do anything. It's like the best he can do, I guess, is next turn he'd have to push out 2 of his characters and he could technically lock out 2 of the opponent's big attacks, but it's really not going to do much. Like, you needed La Beppo, and I think he's just hoping that he'd draw into it, but is going to become 8k once again. I saw a comment a little bit before in chat, my apologies, I didn't respond to it immediately, about the price of Roger. In Japan, I think that the highest it ever went to was about like $10, so it's not that bad, but for a promo, a little bit expensive in Japan. I imagine that's going to be like 4 times that in the States, though, so you guys can have fun with that. But I'm going to swing 8k, and going to counter +3 and +1 to defend this attack, but there's still so many more attacks coming out of Blue Purple Luffy. This game is very rough right now. Blue Purple Luffy wasn't that popular in Japan either, but I think because the card is relevant within Roger as well as Blue Purple Luffy, and the sort of scarcity of the card, it made it kind of difficult to actually play it. Or difficult to obtain it, because everyone was trying to find it. There's a lot of hype around that card potentially saving a lot of decks, so it made the price quite high. Oh, you get Roger plus a promo. Okay, yeah, you guys are fine. Yeah, you guys are fine. For us, we had to like play in very specific Bandai events, so it wasn't even just like any normal Bandai events. There's like championships and like flagships, and at least in Japan, I know Southeast Asia it's a bit easier to get into flagships, but in Japan, flagship battles you only get into like 1 a month, so you're basically only getting 1 Roger promo per month, basically. So it was very difficult to actually get your hands on. Yeah, but this game... Oh, he picked up La Beppo. He found that La Beppo, so at least he has a turn. But because Blue Purple Luffy has been ramping this game and successfully pulled off the Sanji into Roger and then Roger the next turn, all of these small attacks on Mihawk's board are just irrelevant. Yeah. Resends 3 Dong for his leader effect. He does need to consider that he needs to leave some Dong for counter events to just make sure he doesn't just die next turn, but he also needs to find a way to put some pressure on the opponent. Thankfully, his leader is 7k, so it's not going to be as hard for him to actually make attacks that can hit into the opponent's leader, but Blue Purple Luffy just feeling really, really comfortable. Ooh. Swings 8. Just doesn't care about the counter events in his hand. He will be able to get... Oh, no. Yeah, he has Kid Killer on the board, so he's fine. So with Kid Killer as well as the stage, he will be able to get back 2 Dong, so he will be able to at least use the counter events that are in his hand. I forgot about the Kid Killer's second effect. So he will be able to use those counter events. He does have a lot of counter in his hand, and his leader is 7k, so he will have a little bit of time, but this is one of the issues with Mihawk, is that he just really doesn't have that much defense. He doesn't run that many blockers, if any, depending on the list. And Blue Purple Luffy just has an exceptional number of counter that even if he can, by some miracle, survive the next turn, which really doesn't look that possible, then it's not necessarily true that... Or it's not necessarily... What am I trying to say? It's... Even if Mihawk can survive this next turn, which is looking difficult, it doesn't necessarily mean that he can win back on the next turn. So Yeah, we've just seen 2 low roll games in a row, unfortunately. Although, surprisingly, the emo one was still quite close despite that. But Blue Purple Luffy deciding what he wants to do with this dong. Uses gear second. Defend the 10k attack, because his leader is 8k. Blue Purple Luffy, what's he gonna see? Oh, 9-cost Mihawk. Interesting. Wonder what this is a tech for. 9-cost Mihawk can technically get rid of the opponent's 7-cost Shanks, so, you know, another Mihawk upscale. But decides not to pick it up. Doesn't even matter because Mihawk did not find that 7-cost Shanks to begin with this game. So, just picks up as much counter as possible in his hand. Does still have that Zorojiro from that first turn that hasn't been able to do too much, but can potentially become an attacker on this turn finally. We'll see how Mihawk can respond to this. First 9k at leader is completely fine. I think that you just hit 9k here, test the waters, force the opponent to use a counter event, most likely, and then your attacks just keep getting bigger from there. Oh, camera. My bad. Yeah. 1 second. Sorry. I need to get one of those dummy batteries for my camera. But I discovered the existence of dummy batteries a couple days ago. Oh shit. Okay, we are back. Welcome to the stream. Oh, hey. There we go. Okay, it looks like you just defended that out of hand normally. Going for the 10k now, for the second 10k. Mihawk stock's going down. To be fair, if he can draw what he wants to, he looks completely broken. But, I mean, this is exactly, as I've been saying about Mihawk, his issue is that he's very much like Red Purple Roger in that while he... if he can draw his stuff, he's insane. If not, then he struggles a bit. I know that I saw Refter in the chat before. I don't know if he's still around here, but Refter has been talking about a Supernova Mihawk that he thinks is insane. So excited to see exactly what that entails. We did see a little bit of Supernova this time, but unfortunately wasn't able to find the other pieces. Ended up playing 3 Perons, which in this matchup, especially with Blue Purple Leafy, consistently being able to make his leader 8,000 power isn't actually going to matter. Uses the Red Rock to get rid of that Law Beppo. Just make it so that there's no chance that Mihawk can actually close out the game. Insane amount of counter in hand. And even though his leader is finally, for the first time in 3 turns, going to be 6k, it seems like the game has reached a state where it's going to end very quickly. Yeah, good thing he has that 5-cost Bonnie. It's... I don't think there's a way that he can survive for another turn. But the fact that Blue Purple Luffy still has... How many cards is that? 7 cards in hand, as well as a 1 life? I mean... Mihawk just doesn't have enough damage on the board. Even as a blocker on the board. Yeah, Supernova list is very different. Yeah, I would imagine. I've seen some Supernova lists, and like they're all running the 4 of the 5-cost Bonnie. I don't necessarily... the card's okay. I don't necessarily think that it's like game-breakingly good. I don't know if it's a 4 of. I think that you're definitely the expert in this field. Oh, yeah, I think that makes sense. I was thinking, so I assume what you mean by playing it like Bonnie. Oh, do you run 8-cost Kid? I don't know. But 8-cost Kid also kind of works with the leader effect. You could also do some funny things with the 2-cost Hoshinante. Just keep resting that, but you still get the effect of defending 8-cost Kid. I don't know if that's your build, but I've been thinking about some cool ways that you could play that out too. I'm excited to see what you end up playing with Mihawk, but this version of Mihawk that's just kind of play on curve, hit leader, and win the game in 5 turns, or 6 turns, or die, is not my type of deck, so not a big Mihawk fan, but I'm more of a Hancock hater this set, so I'm not going to complain too much. Goes for 8k at leader, trying to close out the game, it seems. Oh, true. Raftera plays Cavendish. Yo, why has no one thought about that? That's an insane card. Anyways, goes for 8k at leader, has infinite ways to be able to deal with this attack. Has the gear second, has the Gum Giant, has a blocker, has the life. Decides to rest one and goes for the Gum Giant first to just filter out that counterless card from his hand to draw 2. Always going to be a good card. Picks up a 2k, so very happy. I don't like Hancock because it feels very uninteractive. If you go for board, you lose life. If you go for their life, they just trigger out a bunch of really strong characters, so it feels like you're not really allowed to play the game that much. And then if you don't play the game, though they play out 9-cost Hancock, you lose your life anyways, and then the opponent eventually just plays 4-cost Pudding into the 2-cost Perfume Femur, and they just decimate you, basically. So if you lose to Hancock, it feels like you really just never did anything, which is what I don't really like about the deck. It's not necessarily that the deck is, like, crazy strong, it's just that, like, it feels like when I lose the deck, I didn't play the game, which is what I don't like. But still, Mihawk trying his best with the few number of resources that he has left. Goes for the 7k and 8k, just a ceremonial last swing. Just going to defend that with a 2k. Turn, pass back to Blue Purple Luffy, once again a ceremonial. Another Gum Giant, just showing he has infinite counter. And is going to take this game, meaning that we're going to have a Blue Purple Luffy in the finals. Yay! I mean, yeah, if you're a Hancock player, that's beautiful. The one thing, though, is that Hancock, you're going to notice it when you start playing against Hancock, is that it feels like Yellow Katakuri from OP03, where it just triggers out characters, plays 10 Mom, and eventually you lose. It also has, like, the equivalent of Reject Amaru in that Pudding Fever, which is very strong, but it's just very annoying to play against. But yeah, so that is going to be the top 4 match. Does anyone remember what the other 2 decks were? There was Ace. Oh, it's Ace and Doflamingo. I wonder who wins that matchup. So on paper, it should be favored for Ace. If we get Ace versus Blue Purple Luffy in the finals, that'd be kind of unfortunate. But we're hoping that Doflamingo ended up winning. Yeah, that's true. He never played the Bonnie that he searched on turn 1. But, I mean, to be fair, he was able to top deck La Beppo on Tentong, so, you know, just draw better. But he wasn't able to draw the 9-cost Mihawk, which is pretty brutal. Yeah, Ace versus Flamingo. Ace should technically win, I would imagine. But we need to see how that actually ends up going. If we have Ace versus Blue Purple Luffy finals, then, you know, I guess meta didn't change. But there's a dream. If we have Doflamingo in the finals, there's going to be some pretty interesting things. Cavendish and Bonnie would have had the same impact. Yeah, maybe you're cooking. Ima versus Doflamingo, or not, sorry, Ima versus Boa is very complicated. I feel like Ima is generally favored if you know how to play out the matchup. But it gets very awkward if Hancock can draw the stuff that they want anyways. There's a couple of different builds for Hancock, and I think that the trigger-focused Hancock build loses pretty hard to Ima, because you just don't attack as Ima, you play your 10-cost total set, and then you slowly win back the game, and then like you're good as long as you stay above 0 life, so the opponent doesn't like 20,000 leader you, or putting into 16,000 leader unblockable. So as long as you can stay healthy enough that you're not within that range, then eventually you can push back with your 10-cost total set and win. But if you're in a position where you're forced to take early hits, or the opponent randomly triggers out a character like Gorgon Sisters, like we saw in the top 16 match from Hancock, then it gets really, really uncomfortable. So the obvious answer as Ima is to just starve them and not attack until you get to that 10-cost Gorose. But if the opponent plays the version of Hancock that runs the 5-cost Marigold, that plays out a 6-cost Hancock, then that deck can still do quite a lot of things because 6 cost Hancock is quite annoying, especially the EB03 one that adds Restadong to your leader as well as a character, just creates a lot of hits that you are forced to deal with and just puts a lot of pressure on Ima. So I won't say that the matchup is like hard winning for Ima. If Ima ends up hitting, it becomes hard winning for Hancock, but you have to play it in a very specific way, which a lot of people aren't aware of. It's kind of like playing against NL, you know? It's like if you don't know how to play against a deck, you end up losing. And it's just very difficult to play against the deck because the risk versus, or maybe not risk, but the cost versus reward of hitting into the opponent's characters as well is something you have to consider. So it's not the worst matchup. It's an interesting matchup to play out for sure, but it's just Hancock in general is just an annoying deck to play against, in my opinion. It just feels like I'm playing against like Turbo OP03 Katakuri. Red Law, in my opinion, is kind of just worse Red Rayleigh, unfortunately. They kind of do similar things where they just like play thing and go, but Law doesn't have that many options to him that make him an actually better aggro deck compared to Red Rayleigh, and especially within the set that in OP14, Jinbei is also a very good aggro deck as well. And I think that if you're going to play an aggro deck, generally I think Jinbei is better. What deck am I playing now? I had, actually after you'd be surprised, I was considering Bonnie quite a bit, but I am still playing Ima, unfortunately. There were a lot of choices that I had in mind. I even had UP Sanji on my mind, but I decided to bring the deck that I'm most comfortable with because I didn't have that much time to practice recently. So I've played an insane amount of Ima, so I'm just hoping that my comfort with the deck is going to be enough to offset some potential sad and difficult matchups. Oops, sorry, I just knocked the mic. Bonnie can do well into a lot of the meta if you dodge Ima, and Ima's play rate is rather low right now because of like, you know, new deck hype. So I think that it had a chance at coming to the meta. The Mihawk matchup isn't as easy as I thought it would be. Hope Dofi wins for no reason. True. I want to see some fun matchup in the finals. But I do have to mention, by the way, guys, that I do have to go in about 15 minutes because I have to go eat dinner with some friends. So if this next game doesn't start quickly, then unfortunately I will have to leave in the middle, which is going to be disappointing, and I apologize, but we'll see how fast the game ends up going. But if it's Ace versus Blue Purple Luffy, it's not going to be a fast game. But hopefully, it seems like we're going into the last game though, so if this can end pretty quickly, then I'll be able to make it to dinner. Stream from the restaurant? I think I'd get copyright striked from all of the music that's playing. Ima worth playing in OP14? I think if you're dedicated to Ima's still probably the best deck, but you need to learn the new matchups. They're not very straightforward. Like, Mihawk, you can win. I have a way that I plan to win against Mihawk. Oh! Wait, it's the Doflamingo! Yay! Doflamingo beat Ace! What am I gonna eat? I am going to have turkey because I'm meeting up with one of my friends from when I lived in America, from when I was like a child. I don't think I've seen them in like 15 years, and it's like, hey, Thanksgiving. I don't celebrate Thanksgiving in Japan, but my friend does, so we're like, yeah, well, you just get a little turkey thing. But yeah. Anyways, it was difficult to find a restaurant that has turkey, by the way, but for that reason it's a little bit far, and I would have to go in about, well, now about 14 minutes to actually make it there on time. Why did I consider Blue Purple Sanji? I think it does okay. It loses really hard to Ima, but the other matchups were actually not that bad. It's just like a pretty solid removal deck because you have very easy access to things like Red Rock with the 5 cost Reiju from EV03. Unfortunately, when you guys get OP14, you won't have EB03 quite yet, but Blue Purple Sanji with EB03 is very, very nice and a lot of fun. There's also, I saw, what was it? EB04, the set that you guys get. You guys get an insane Sanji card as well. I forget what it's called though. It's a 3-cost event that plays a Sanji out of your trash or hand. That's crazy. That's such a good card. I'm excited to play that deck more once that comes out. I don't know if Douglas Bullet actually ever was popular in EMU in Japan. I think most people were just playing 4 Roger, 4 9-cost Luffy, and that was basically it. So, Stealth Black, yeah, that's the card. So I doubt that this Blue Purple Luffy plays it. We did see that he runs a 9-cost Mihawk, so that is something. my friends are messaging me like, yo, there's Blue Purple Luffy in the matchups, you should pivot to Blue Purple Luffy. But no, I've committed. There's some of the people. Maybe last match, I'll put on the... Oh, I need to put on the headphones like this if I'm going to be Gunko. Oh, okay. I don't think headphones are meant to be worn like this. This feels weird. Doesn't even make sense because there's no Emu in this, but we have Doflamingo in the finals. Yay! The thing is, I was actually considering pivoting to Blue Purple Luffy a couple of days ago. I think that, like, in general, it's not bad into the meta at all. But because I have my Gunko cosplay, it's very weird for me to now play Blue Purple Luffy as Gunko, you know? So I've kind of committed myself to playing Ina with my very low budget cosplay. But still, happy though that we have a new matchup. Blue Purple Luffy versus Purple Doflamingo. I'm going to pick up that 8-cost Doflamingo. Has pretty good cards in hand. Doesn't have a 4-cost, which he would have wanted. But still has some pretty solid cards to play after that. Does have the 1-cost pudding as well to be able to search for some of those options. And with the lead effect, can pretty easily defend that 1-cost pudding should he choose to. So in the early game, you probably do just want to gather a lot of dong and make sure that the opponent doesn't actually develop their board faster than you can. But with Blue Purple Luffy, oh, this matchup seems pretty difficult for Doflamingo. So yes, the 10-cost Doflamingo can kill the 8-cost Roger, which is quite relevant because it can KO one of the opponent's 8-cost or less or lock 3 7-cost or less. So it can get rid of that 8-cost Roger. But the second effect of being able to lock characters is just not very relevant into this deck. And so against this matchup, I'd imagine that you have to play out the 8-cost Doflamingo and just spread out your board and try to make more attacks than the opponent and accelerate the game that way. But it's not like he can spread his board fast on Blue Purple Luffy. And also, he just sent 2 8-cost Doflamingos and a 10-cost Doflamingo to the bottom of his deck, electing to instead play out the Dillinger. So the one nice thing about this is that regardless of where Blue Purple Luffy hits, whether it's into the Sugar or Life, you redirect the attack into Dillinger and absorb 1 hit for free, essentially, and you get the search. But sending all those cards to the bottom of your deck is quite scary. If you don't find them later on, then it's very difficult to defend against Blue Purple Luffy's onslaught of attacks that can come out of that 9-cost Sanji and the top 5 cards that he consistently checks every single turn. Yeah, someone told me it was Koala Hat as well, but these are the official Gunko colors. I have the mask too. I also have a wig, but I think if I put on the mask, it would sound bad in the microphone. So, you know, oh, there's the camera. I have the wig, I have the jacket, I put everything together. The only thing that I don't have is the legs. I dream of having legs like that, but there's 1 ramp, there's 2 ramp, and there's the triple ramp. Yay! Content! Oh, Blue Purple Luffy, best deck in format. Woo! Doflamingo, a deck that can ramp, but not necessarily as hard as Blue Purple Luffy can. Blue Purple Luffy, while going first, is going to be able to get that triple ramp, and he already has the 9-cost Sanji in his hand. Even if he doesn't find a solid 9-cost in the top 5, he does have that 9-cost Luffy as a second option as well. Just has everything that he needs right now. really brutal situation right now for Doflamingo already.
でここまで加速できてんのこれ一安心ですよねまず。
Oh, Golden Kamui. Yeah, dude, I was trying to I was saying that it looked like Sugimoto from Golden Kamui, but I couldn't remember the name of the show before. But yeah. The nice thing though with Doflamingo being able to protect that sugar means that he will be able to get one more search. So gets one more card in hand. He's going to play out that Virgo. Virgo can't be removed or can't be KO'd. But for Blooper Luffy isn't really planning to anyways. Oh. Okay. So, oh my god, this is just the perfect curve. He has an excellent target on this turn, and next turn he's also setting up to be able to play 9 Sanji into something else. This is just Blooper Luffy's day. But yeah, no, this, although it looks like Golden Kamui, is actually meant to be Gunko, just very low budget cosplay. Actually, I'll show you, although it's, you know, kind of small corner thing, but I cut out these rings out of wood, painted them gold, and wrapped a hat in tape and painted everything gold to make it look kind of like Gunko. And it works. You know, it's not, you know, for budget cosplay, I think it looks pretty good. But yeah, we're just going to enjoy Blooper Luffy's victory lap because this is just the perfect curve. Blooper Luffy should have been banned. I think there's an argument for that. I think that it's a reasonable take. The deck is more interesting now that there's less of them in OP13 and OP14, but still, you know, the leader effect is insanely powerful. And that 9 Sanji, because it has a manga parallel, it won't be rotating anytime soon, as in never. So, going to play out the Sanji into Roger, becomes an 8k leader already on what should be his 7-dong turn, and swing 8k into leader, just creating an insane board. While Doflamingo, the best that he can do next turn is to just play an 8 cost into a 5 cost. Sees his life, debating on what he wants to do with that trigger. Need to wear the shorts? What shorts? Well, he gets the ramp, but this just means that he's going to be at 9-dong now. 9-dong... it's kind of relevant actually. You play the 8 cost Doflamingo, you go -1 in Dong, so you're at 8. Then next turn you're going to be at 10, so you can then play the 10 cost Doflamingo and KO the opponent's 8 cost Roger. But I mean, at that point the opponent's going to have like 4 characters on board, so it's just not going to be that much. Plus this Bankley on the board is going to be able to hit at 9k because Doflamingo really can't interact with the board unless he were to forcefully play out something like that Usachi. Ooh, I'm Mats. I think Crocodile's pretty good, just dodge ace. And if you see me at the championship tomorrow, say hi to me. Even if I'm recording, you know. Just jump in and I'll get you up to date on what I'm talking about, and we'll discuss how things are going. You know, just fun, spontaneous interactions. And, oh, okay, doesn't see another 9 cost, so won't get the insane turbo high roll at the very least, but still has a 9 cost Luffy in hand if he chooses to still go down that route and just accelerate the game to an insane degree. Yeah, UP Luffy just, I mean, it's a good deck. I think if you were to pair ban 9 cost Sanji, then the deck would lose its identity. I don't know if you like care that much about it, but like what makes Blue Purple Luffy is playing 9 cost Sanji into something, and they were able to balance the like early game aggression or early game defensive capabilities that it had by getting rid of 8 cost Katakuri and 9 Mom. But you know, if you can manage to pull off this ramp into the 9 cost Sanji, then you're just always going to be happy. So, debating though what he wants to pick up. I imagine, I don't know the counter situation in his hand, but I feel like it's fine to just pick up. He goes for the Gum Gum Giant. Do you want to send it to the bottom? I doubt that he would want to do that. Oh, he does. Okay, doesn't want the 9 cost Sanji. Yeah. Which implies to me that he's probably just going to play out that 9 cost Luffy that's in his hand, and then he just doesn't need to expand his board further. After that point, he just needs to play out things like the 5 cost Nami, which he already has in his hand, thankfully. You could even start going for that from this turn, but the rest of your Dong's a bit awkward, so I don't necessarily think that you need to do that play quite yet. I think you just expand your board once more. And then from the next turn you play defensively. He still has 3 life, so he's just in a very comfortable position to just take these more greedy turns where he plays out that 9-cost Luffy just to create more aggression. And while Purple Doflamingo can redirect 1 attack, he can't necessarily defend against all of these attacks. This turn, minimum, there's going to be the 9k from the Banklei, 9k from Sanji, the 8k, or not 8k, the 8-cost Roger also swinging, and even the leader. And if you also have a 9-cost Luffy on top of that, Doflamingo is going to be losing very, very quickly. I have to hold my headphones because they're not meant to be worn this way. I could... But the thing is, like, oh, in the manga, Gunko wears her headphones like this for some reason, so I feel like I have to. But yeah, this is fine, I guess. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Just trying to mitigate as much damage as possible with those redirected attacks. But Blue Purple Luffy just... Doflamingo has a lot of hand. We do have to give him credit where credit is due, but even if he can defend these attacks, it's not like he's going to be positioned to be able to break through 3 life from Blue Purple Luffy. And the interesting thing is that Doflamingo's curve this game is actually pretty solid. He didn't get a 4-cost on 4, but he was still able to trigger a ramp card, which you could maybe make the argument should have just stayed in hand, depending on what his turn would be next turn. We don't know exactly yet what he's going to end up doing, but 10-cost Doflamingo is probably going to be too slow. But aside from that, he was able to play the Virgo. He was also able to search twice with Sugar. Still has the Sugar on board even. And also was able to play the 8-cost Doflamingo into the Virgo once again. So just like pretty solid play from, or pretty solid curve, I should say, from Doflamingo. But I mean, in the face of Blue Purple Luffy's triple ramp into Sanji Roger into the 9-cost Luffy, 10k leader once again, while still having an insane number of cards in hand and 3 life, there's not much any leader can do in the face of this curve. Yeah, this is the finals. I think that I like the 7-cost leaning in UP Luffy. If I were to have played Blue Purple Luffy, I would have played that card in the deck. So I think that the curve going second with that card and just the potential of making 9-cost Sanji work out is a lot higher if you have that card in the deck. So I think it's pretty solid. I would run it, but Blue Purple Luffy in general is kind of a lower play rate deck, so not as popular. It's interesting that this guy has like a very, very shiny deck. Not completely shiny, but like quite shiny deck. But the leader's not shiny. Yeah, Doflamingo finally at that 10-dong turn where he can put down the 10-cost Doflamingo to get rid of that 8-cost Roger. But the 8-cost Roger feels so small when the rest of the board is Sanji and Luffy. Sugar going to swing for 1k into the opponent's Banklei to just try to get rid of that potential attacker. But Blue Purple Luffy, thinking about what he wants to do about this. If you were to defend it, he may be able to absorb an attack, but because that leader is 5k, it probably makes just more sense to just let that attack go. Attaches 1 dong to Virgo. Now, he does have the on-attack effect from Virgo. Oh, the main effect from Kamasari, he's trying to take out the board. Rest 5 dong. Because his 0-cost event only costs 5, and you minus the power of something by 8,000. So now Roger is 2,000. So if Virgo were to... I mean, it's very difficult to take out 2 because of the amount of defense that Luffy has in hand, but at the very least he will be able to take out this Roger. But the Virgo's on-attack effect, if you were to minus the dong, you can reduce one of the opponent's character's power by 2,000. And in that case, with the 2 Virgos on the board, he may try to take out both of the characters, or at least 2 of the characters on the opponent's board. It seems like that's what he is trying to do. But Blue Purple Luffy is just so healthy right now. So many cards in hand. And is still feeling quite comfortable. I don't... I mean, the thing is, you could even make an argument to just use Gungam Giant here to keep the character on the board. I mean, now it's at 7, you go 7 into 5. No, it probably does end up dying, I guess. You defend the 2, 2, 1, 9. You have counter events he needs to keep up? Does Doflamingo just attach the rest of his dong to his... Oh, is that... Can't tell what the second card from the right is. Yeah, it is time to leave, but this game's almost over, so I'm pushing it a little bit. Oh, he lets it go. Okay. So, Doflamingo able to take out 2 characters, miraculously, with that 0-cost event, Kamisari, main effect. And finally going to break the first life of Blue Purple Luffy. Blue Purple Luffy, I think if he wanted to, could have committed to defending that attack. It's hard to see exactly which card's in his hand. Maybe he couldn't have. 2, 1... Oh, no, he can't. If he attaches the rest of his dong to the 9-cost Flamingo and attacks it, then he's going to be in a really bad spot. So, decides to just let that attack through and plays down the Baby 5, because this Baby 5, if he were to redirect the attack into his Baby 5, is going to heal him a life, which is going to give him a lot of time, actually. No, is this game going to go on for longer now? I mean, he sees an insane top deck again, but... let me see how long it's going to take for me to get to the place I need to go to. I can be fine for like another 8 minutes if I run. I'll be fine. The crazy thing is he sent the Sanji to the bottom the turn before, so these are new Sanjis. So picks up the Sanji, is just going to be able to play a whole nother turn, just prolong the game even longer, even has more counter events in his hand. Just being able to play out that Sanji into Roger and still have a dong up for Gungam Giant is going to make it very difficult for Doflamingo to pull his way back in this game, despite being able to stabilize the game somewhat. And let's check his face. Koinu squinted a little bit at the card, but didn't give too much of a reaction. Going to go 8k into the opponent's leader. He does have that Noronoro Beam Sword in his hand. Attacking with 8k first, try to get him to counter out. Yeah. Redirects the attack, gets the 1 life, and Blue Purple Luffy's 9-cost Luffy is going to break through that. Oof. Man, that Baby 5 is stalling a lot of time. But this 10k attack into leader, if this goes through, and because the characters from Blue Purple Luffy's side are active, if Doflamingo doesn't end up playing out that 10-cost Doflamingo, he's going to have 2 attacks on the board with Doflamingo at 0 life. If he doesn't have... Well, he does have another Baby 5, so that is something. So he could potentially increase his life 1 more time. But Blue Purple Luffy, with Pudding in hand, is looking to use that immediately, the opportunity, or when he gets the opportunity to. Okay, he is 1 dong, so he's not going to be going for that 10-cost Flamingo. I think you probably just lose if you play that 10-cost Flamingo. Okay, he is going for the board again. So it's 8 into 8, reduces 1 dong. He still has the second Virgo as well to be able to reduce its attack once more, so it's going to become 6k. You will be able to reduce, or you will be able to return the dong that's on that rested Virgo as well to be able to get the effect. So efficient usage of his dong. Oh my gosh. Playing on a very fine edge right now. Goes for the 8k. Oh, going for the 8k into Luffy, reducing his attack 1 more time. Now the Luffy is at 6k. And with an abundance of Dong left at Doflamingo's disposal, it's going to be very tricky for Blue Purple to decide whether it's worth it to actually defend against the attack. One of these things with playing these sort of niche leaders into other niche leaders is that both sides aren't exactly sure what the correct line is, because these are some rather unfamiliar lines that you haven't really played into. He can technically defend this attack should he want to, but he doesn't have the luxury of being able to use multiple Gundam Giants, for example, to defend it as hard as he would as hard as he would want to. Lets it go, just electing to go for the defensive, more safe play. And Doflamingo now just probably going to play out that second Baby 5 and hope that he has enough cards, counter, and defense with his leader effect as well as that Baby 5 he'll survive just another turn. Just little by little try and chip away at Blue Purple Luffy's resources. Blue Purple Luffy was at 3 life for the longest time in this game, but slowly but surely he is trying to chip away at his resources. Is it going to be enough, though, in the face of pudding? And this would be a completely different game if he didn't have pudding in his hand. But because of the existence of pudding, Blue Purple Luffy doesn't need to think about that sugar. Sugar's been gaining insane amounts of value throughout this entire game. Probably drawn 4 cards something at this point. Defending the attack at leader with Gum Gum Giant. Going to cycle through his deck. Defend this attack very cleanly. There's the Baby 5. Ooh. Chipping at UV is very difficult, yeah. He also, as we saw, picked up another Gum Giant off of the Gum Giant that he just used. There's another Gum Giant again in his top 5. He is surviving, but it's not like he's getting that much closer to lethal. I wonder... oh, wait. Do you just red rock the Baby 5, then putting him and just swing 6, 9, 10? Is that too weird? That seems fine to me, no? Because, I mean, the opponent's... Yeah, no, that's guaranteed lethal. Unless the opponent has, like, draws into counter events. But I think you're still fine. I think you're fine, right? Oh, Virgo protects... Fuck! 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 These new leaders are so cringe. Okay. Right. Now Virgo protects it. Oh my god. I mean, does he go for the pudding anyways? And I thought that Virgo was anti-KO. It's anti-removal. Sorry, the cards just came out. Oh, he's going to play another turn. Oh. Okay, use the Ikasa Flamingo effect to get 1 Dong active. Just to stay at 10. Only is relevant if you were to use the slow beam. Because 9k leader. The Flamingo might be able to turn this. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God, it needs to be able to mitigate 2 attacks with this now. Oh my god, and the Virgos are doing so much work. Ah, it's not gonna end.
レストにして、U5KO されたんで1枚ライフが追加、そして9-3時から9-2ホークが出て、ベルゴをデッキ下に送りたいんですが、ベルゴ自らの効果に
plays out the Mihawk, and as chat was mentioning, the Virgo effect. He's just going to -1 dong, which means that he only has 8 dong at his disposal on this turn. And now surely he doesn't have another of the baby 5 to be able to heal once again. Surely the game ends soon. Still has that pudding in his hand, still has so many counter cards in his hand. Blue Purple Luffy is nowhere near dying anytime soon, but Purple Doflamingo has been holding on so well for so long. Yeah, no, Doflamingo is just like insanely tanky. He has seen every Sanji, yes. He sent one to the bottom, then his next top 5 had the last 2. So he has seen every single Nanka Sanji in his deck, and he has played 3 of them. And despite that, Purple Doflamingo has been hanging on for a very, very long time. And this is also with Blue Purple Luffy triple ramping. But Doflamingo starting first with that 6k at leader. And Doflamingo has a lot of cards in his hand, but they're not necessarily relevant. He has things like the 8 Castle Flamingo, he has 10 Castle Flamingo, neither of which is really good in this hand, or in this situation, nor can he even play out the 10 Castle Flamingo if he wanted to. Deciding what he can do in the situation, but the reality is that he's starting to run out of fuel. He's going for Sanji again. 7k into Sanji, reducing 1 dong. Now the Sanji is at 7k. 7k into 7k. Still is relatively cheap for Blue Purple Luffy to defend because it's probably going to be reduced one more time with that second Virgo. Or maybe not, because he will need to reduce an active dong if he chooses to. So we're going to see what he ends up doing. What could be so wrong about giving a purple deck healing? Yeah, man. Yeah, Purple Doflamingo is insanely tanky. The thing is, like, his top end characters aren't necessarily like crazy if you compare them to like Ace or Blue Purple Luffy or Ima, but he just has so much resilience, and the cards that he does play onto the board, like this the Virgos that have protection against removal, the 8 Costa Flamingos, 10 Costa Flamingos, just slow, small cards that can get value over time with the amount of tankiness that this deck has, is just... What did he pick up? Gets a 2k. So not actually gaining that much counter because he did have to trash that 0 cost event for it. But maybe looking for... I mean, he does have a means of searching. Maybe looking for just some more ways to be able to stay in this game. But I think that Roshinante, he was really looking for the Noronoro Beam Solo. And, I mean, same as before. 9k is going to be defended. Still holding on to that pudding, because that is the way that he's going to end this game. Goes at Sanji and does not use the effect, it seems. Yeah, just trying to whittle away at his resources, gets one more card out of Doflamingo, or Blue Purple Luffy's hand. Leaves up 4 dong. Despite having no counter events in his hand. Staring down the barrel of Blue Purple Luffy's massive board.
Baby 5がないからプリンチャンスではありそうですが、いくら何枚ですか？10枚。わあ、10枚。この10枚。行きたくなりますね。キャラも4体場に出てるから。ただ。
It's fine. He's been being like that. Yeah, picks up the gear second, makes everything active. Let's see if this is going to be the final turn. Will he just go for it? You have to think that Doflamingo is out of fuel now that he doesn't have that heal. Is going to putting him.
このブリン強いな。
ここで手札に何が加わるか。ただこれ小犬選手も4段アクティブで返していますんで、
はい。
ノロノロビームソードが手に加わればしっかりと使うことができるという運命の5枚ですね。
そうですね。本当この5枚。
だから本当にケアはもう完璧にしてるんですが、ただ引けるかどうかですよね。
さあイベント含めカウンター値はいかに。
And he draws into, I mean, to be fair, decent amount of counter, but not going to be enough in the face of all the attacks that he has. 2k, 2k, 1k, 1k, 1k. Picks up a 0 cost event, which is going to effectively be a 2k in total. And looks like that's going to be it. So, thoughts on OP14, guys? Blue, purple, Luffy, best deck in format, I guess. Going to redirect the last attack into Roshinante. 0 life and only 3 cards. Being very careful about this, but that was honestly a bit of a dangerous attack if he had slow beam. But Blue Purple Luffy is going to be the champion, which means that I now have to go because I'm going to be late for my dinner. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys very much for watching. Very interesting finals game. Was much closer despite Blue Purple Luffy having such an insane start. Thank you guys for watching. Fuck you people who were telling me my cosplay